During yesterday's show, we did a segment about the Pennsylvania district attorney's races. So a big race coming out of Philadelphia, and there was some optimism. It actually looked like the moderate Democrat could win. Isn't it funny, us cheering for a moderate Democrat? Why? Well, you're not going to get a Republican DA. But there was a far left pro-Black Lives Matter district attorney who had been in. Crime had been skyrocketing, violent crime, really horrifying stories out of Philly. As most of you know, we used to do the show just outside of Philly in the Philly suburbs. And one of the reasons we left was the, rising out of control crime, namely the riots, but there were a bunch of shootouts. And I was just like, I don't want to be in a city. We want to get into the middle of nowhere and kind of just have more space, grow the company, do something. So then lo and behold, the story comes out. It was a blowout. The progressive won by 30 points. That means even with all of this skyrocketing crime, all of these riots, the tearing down of statues, and the people said, we're not going far left enough. Let's go far left-er. I'm not surprised. A lot of people just don't pay attention. So we'll talk about that. But we do have some good news. That individual who wrote the 1619 Project just had her tenure rescinded. It was a proposal. Apparently was not picked up. Journalists are outraged. They're furious. They believe that this woman is a hero. But apparently people started to realize the 1619 Project is fake news. And for this, no tenure. So it's not all bad news. We're going to talk about this. And we got one of the best people to talk about what's going on in Pennsylvania. We have now Senate candidate for Pennsylvania, Sean Parnell.
Hello, Tim. It is great to be back. This is like my fourth time on the show. And what I mean, as most political candidates would probably be scared to come down and sit in a studio with you because, as you say, you're a disaffected liberal and nobody wants to get ambushed with gotcha questions. But
I don't do that.
First of all, you don't do that, right? You're very, very fair, and I think that's why people actually watch your show as much as they do. I really do think that there is a thirst for truth out there. You said people don't pay attention. I think part of the reason why they don't is people are sick of the divisiveness. Most people feel like the news that they watch on TV is not accurate. And by the way, like Republican, Democrat, left-leaning, right-leaning, I think people want the facts and they want to be able to make decisions on their own. And so I think that's why people watch.
I think the big question for people who watch the show, or the issue is more, are you paying attention to what's really going on? There's a political establishment. And on the Republican side, you have a very powerful anti-establishment force that's pushed its way in. And that's made the neocons and the establishment Republicans run to the Democrats. So this is why you could have a disaffected liberal who's like, the media is lying about this, that, or otherwise. And then we end up getting along even if we disagree on policy. I'm not here to push an agenda or a narrative to help someone win. I want to understand the truth and make sure that, things work.
Yeah.
So that's why this show works, I think. But,
I think that should be the goal of every journalist. I mean, one of the things that you learn, and by the way, but I'm not sure that your audience does, but I am not a career politician. Being a politician was never part of my professional track or even running for political office. But you learn pretty quickly when you run that the media on either side of the aisle, they definitely have a narrative and they're definitely pushing that narrative. And sometimes the facts are pushed to the sidelines in pursuit of that. And I don't like that.
Usually.
Sometimes you're not one of those people and you're a journalist. You do this. I mean, and there are some good journalists out there that I rely on and that are even some Democrats out there that I know these journalists are Democrats that write fair, right? And to me, that's the benchmark. Like, I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican, just be fair.
It's a question of scruples. Do people feel that feeling in your gut when they know they're doing something wrong? And the problem is too many people in this country today don't. So they're sitting there like, well, I know I'm lying, but who cares? And that's what you get. So we'll get into all this stuff. But also, I think you know a lot about what's going on with these DA races, the escalating crime, the Black Lives Matter stuff. So we'll talk about that. Mm-hmm. We got Ian wearing glasses.
Ian Carlson over here in full Clark Kent get up. Happy to be here.
And yes, I'm in the corner as well, pushing buttons to make this show happen. Happy to be here.
Before we get started, we actually have a sponsor today. Check out StrongerBonesAndLife.com, and you can get 51% off of this really great ageless multi-collagen. We shout them out all the time. Ian actually just threw some in his coffee.
So creamy.
Because he loves putting it in there, and I love mixing it in my drinks, smoothies. We got a slushy machine now. Yes. So look, when you're a 35-year-old skater and you want to keep your bones and skin and joints healthy, This is what you need. You need this ageless multi-collagen because it makes up the most important part of your skeletal system and good hair. I mean, I know that the ladies out there are probably concerned about having their skin look good and nice. You want some collagen, but I'm sure the men out there want to still look good at 35 or getting older. Take that collagen. Go to strongerbonesinlife.com. You can get 51% off. They say you got a 60-day money-back guaranteed. 5 key types of collagen you need from 4 different sources. Hydrolyzed collagen peptides, meaning better and faster digestibility to support maximum benefits. For every order today, they will donate a nutritious meal to a hungry child in your honor through their partnership with NoKidHungry.org. To date, BioTrust has provided over 4.4 million meals to hungry kids. Please help BioTrust hit their goal of 5 million meals this year. It is non-GMO and free of artificial colors, flavors, preservatives, and sweeteners, and free of gluten, antibiotics, and RBGH and RBST. No odor or taste, unlike bone broth and other collagen supplements. There's no clumping, unlike other collagen supplements. Free shipping with every order, and this is really cool. Free VIP live health and fitness coaching from BioTrust's team of expert nutrition and health coaches for life with every order. And they got an e-report, the 14 foods for amazing skin with every order. So if you want to take your health seriously and you want to get back into, getting physically active, getting out there in the world with now all the restrictions coming down, go to strongerbonesinlife.com, 51% off. And thank you to BioTrust for sponsoring the show. But don't forget also, go to timcast.com, become a member by clicking this big old members only button. And you can get access to the members only area, where we have a bunch of exclusive segments, a huge library of content. We got a ton of awesome people going back a ways, some full podcast episodes. When you sign up, you're helping us grow the business. We've got new shows on the horizon. We are doing a lot to expand. We are really, really close to doing live Friday night events. Every Friday night, we're going to have a live event where members will be able to come out, but it'll be with restrictions. Like we can only do like 20 people per week. So it'll be kind of difficult, but it will be available. So make sure you sign up to become a member, because you never know. We'll put up a notice saying, boom, tickets are available. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Leave us a good review on iTunes, Spotify. Give us 5 stars if you really like the show. But let's jump into that first big story. I can't say I'm surprised. The Daily Caller reports, after a surge in violent crime, progressives win big in Pennsylvania's largest city. I couldn't believe it, because you had this police-backed moderate Democrat guy, and the polls are like it's fairly even. He's like, he's doing all right. And I was like, this guy's, my opinion, I thought he was going to win, because you have all of this crime. I remember what happened in South Philly. Do you remember when the Christopher Columbus statue was attacked?
Yes.
And then you had a bunch of these like local dudes standing around it saying, back off. The city came and took it down. I had to believe that regular people were like, yo, what are you doing? This makes me a bit pessimistic, because it wasn't just that the progressive, the far left pro Black Lives Matter guy won. It was a blowout. What was it, 30 plus points? So what's happening in this place? Do these people really want more crime? Do they like the crime that's happening in their state?
No. I mean, I think it's important to remember that it's a Democrat primary, right? So whoever's in the Democrat primary in today's day and age, the litmus test is, if you're running for Senate, is like nuking the filibuster or packing the Supreme Court or tearing down fundamental institutions that have been a part of this country for the last 200 years. So it's Democrat primaries are become, what did you say? Like, who can be lefter? Who can be
far lefter.
Yeah, far lefter. Well, Krasner, I mean, you're looking at the city of Philadelphia. What's happened to that city under Krasner is sad, right? I mean, I think you're seeing something like a 30% rise in crime, violent crime in Philadelphia. The people there are struggling. I think when there's a rise in crime, you see, the black communities are disproportionately affected by that. So it's unfortunate to see him as the guy, right?
It's the ultra wealthy backing these people too. Like Krasner, I think, was backed by one of the Soros foundations or by wealthy individuals.
Yes, and I think late in the game, I think an infusion of something like, and I don't know this for sure, but something like $3 million to help him get across the finish line. And look, that is, and I'm not judging that, right? Like, you have to raise money to win in politics, and and the more effective a candidate is on a campaign at raising money, the more effective they can be at getting their message out. Now, I liken it, everything that I use is like a military analogy, and I'm not advocating for any sort of violence, right? But dollars in a campaign are like bullets in a gun, right? When your platoon is out there in combat, you run out of ammo, you can't respond to the enemy, you can't defend yourself. The same is true in politics. You run out of money. Look, the Democrats will, in my case, the Democrats will come after you and they will bludgeon you with ads and inhibit. And if you have no money, you can't respond. And so what happened in Philadelphia, this is a prime example of that, and the profound impact that money can have in terms of advertising and moving the needle one way or the other.
It's like reminds me of Fauci. He says,
"Are you going to do the Fauci impression?"
No,
do
no.
No,
Fauci tells everyone to go on cruises. He tells everybody not to wear masks, and then he blames Donald Trump. They blame Donald Trump. It's like Trump was just taking this guy's advice, but I'll pass the buck to Trump. He should have fired the guy in the first place. I bring him up because these voters are like Fauci followers, right? So here's what I mean. When you see the CDC say, all right, y'all can take your masks off if you're vaccinated, and these people are literally saying, no, we shouldn't, we should keep them on, you can see that with your eyes. Mm-hmm. That is a Democratic base that doesn't care about what the guidelines are. They just care about what signifies their tribe. Like David Hogg said, he doesn't want to be seen as a conservative, so he'll just wear the mask anyway. What you can't see is the virtue signaling and the tribalism that's not tangible, which is elections like this. The ads come out, they say ridiculous nonsense and out of context garbage, and people just go, whatever you say. They would rather just align themselves tribally than care about anything principally that would help better their community.
So I would say that's why, in my any part of my campaign, right? Like I go everywhere. I'm just using myself as an example. I go everywhere. I talk to everyone. I personally believe that leadership is about, of course, coalition building where people agree with you. But it's also about going where people don't and building consensus, right? And giving those folks a chance to get to know you with the understanding that, of course, as Americans, we're not going to agree on every issue, right? But the leaders show up anyway to show people that they care. And so when I campaign, when I go out there, I go everywhere with a Democrat, independent, Republican. I don't care if you believe in the greatness of America, if you believe in freedom, if you believe in the idea of passing down a rich, vibrant country, a country that's rich with opportunity to the next generation, then join us, join the movement. And I think what because we've been able to do that, and part of that, by the way, is think for yourself, right? Don't just lock into, left-wing media or right-wing media. Read, think for yourself. Part of being a part of this movement that I think we're trying to create in Western Pennsylvania, and indeed we probably have created it, of thousands of people in Western Pennsylvania, people from across the political spectrum, is they want the truth and they're going to seek it out themselves. And then not only that, they're going to take action to make their communities better. And in this case, so what does that look like for a campaign? It means like they're out there knocking doors. They're out there hosting events. They're out there making phone calls, right? They're helping move the ball down the field. Something that Democrats have done for years, far better than Republicans, right, is organize, right?
Definitely.
They're better at it. But so we're rivaling that in Pennsylvania, and I think that you saw that reflected in these ballot questions. So Krasner, what happened with Krasner? I think
he's that progressive guy.
He's the progressive guy that won in Philadelphia. It's a bad thing for Philadelphia that he won. I think he's one of the worst DAs in Philadelphia history, but that's besides the point. I think the real indicator in Pennsylvania statewide is we had 2 ballot questions on the ballot, right? Which both ballot questions pertain to the governor's unilateral ability to extend emergency declarations in Pennsylvania. You can do that in perpetuity. And I would argue that he's abused the process, right? Like, of course, COVID was real. We had to take it seriously. And there were early on, those emergency provisions were certainly appropriate, right? But it's, 15 days to slow the spread has turned into 15 months, right? And so my point is, Tim, is that Republicans showed up in force and won, but it was really what I see that as a referendum on Tom Wolf, who's a radical Democrat governor. We won those ballot initiatives by around 139,000 votes statewide. That's significant, and it's indicative of the strength of the Republican Party in the state.
Didn't Wolf kill a bunch of old people?
So the state of Pennsylvania, and so to your point of like how President Trump was blamed for his COVID response, the time, like, first of all, Governor Cuomo right now is under the microscope. The second highest nursing home deaths in the country happened in the state of Pennsylvania
Wow.
under Governor Tom Wolf. No one's talking about it, but believe me, in the near future, they will be with the governor's race coming up now. But I think what was particularly disconcerting about nursing home policy is, of course, if you were paying attention to COVID early on, you saw how it was. It first came to Seattle, right? We saw it tear through nursing home facilities and how the elderly were particularly vulnerable when it comes to COVID, right? We knew that. And you had Secretary Levine, our Secretary of Health in Pennsylvania for the Wolf administration, saw that coming, and she took her own mother out of a nursing home facility while leaving other senior citizens in the state of Pennsylvania to languish and die. I got real problems with that. And so, I don't think
Levine is with the Biden administration. Right?
Now she's with the Biden administration. And so, I don't think we're talking enough about that. There are a litany of things that we could have probably done better, that we definitely could have done better. And by the way, it's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback. I am giving a little bit of grace here in that this is once in a 100-year pandemic. We've never faced anything like this before. We didn't really know what COVID was like early on, so precautions I thought were necessary early on. But look, it only took about 3 to 4 months for us to realize, for us to learn a heck of a lot more about COVID, right? And as you're dealing with the pandemic, your strategy has to evolve as the science evolves and as you learn more about the virus. That didn't happen in Pennsylvania. And elderly, senior citizens, and the citizens of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, I think they paid the price.
Yeah, I think we got the worst of every world with Fauci, because at first he's like, "Don't wear your masks." Then he's
there
like,
it is.
Yes.
I knew it was
"You can
coming.
go on the cruises. It's fine if
Can I
you
just do the
wash
slow
your hands."
clap? Am I
Yes.
allowed to clap? I will.
It's beautiful.
It's
Imagine if he came out right away and said, "Just wear masks in case. Let's be on the safe side of these things." Then what we would have reduced a dramatic amount of death. Imagine if it was like, "Yeah, you probably shouldn't go on cruises right now until we figure this thing out." Very early on, he was like, "It's fine," and then a month later, when it gets bad, then he's like, "Okay, now it might get bad." And then when we see Texas and Florida, and it's like, people are asking, why is it Texas and Florida are doing so well? No answer. We don't really know. The Today Show did a segment where they were like, we're not entirely sure. Just ending the restrictions, and for some reason, COVID deaths are going down. Perhaps it was because we learned that transmission indoors was worse, outdoors was safer, getting vitamin D and exercise was better for you, and people were put in the worst possible position. Where was Fauci to be like, maybe we should change our minds on this? See, he was too lax in the beginning and too harsh in the middle to the end. So people have been following this guy playing Simon Says. Don't wear any masks. Wear your masks. Double mask. No, don't double mask. Double mask anyway. If you get the vaccine, wear your mask anyway. Okay, I admit it. I was just saying that. That's where we're at right now.
And I think, I agree. I think Fauci has been remarkably inconsistent in his guidance, right? And I think at the end of the day, with a pandemic response, now here's my thing: if you again, I thought that the 15 days to slow the spread when we didn't know a lot about the virus was probably appropriate early on, but you've got to adjust fire pretty quickly, right? But I think he's been inconsistent, and truthfully, the science behind masking is it's dubious at best. It really is, and so. The mask in today's day and age, even when you're seeing the CDC changing their mask guidance, saying that, okay, now that people are vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask outside. You don't have to wear. I mean, look, if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. I'm not going to judge you on that. Like, if you feel safer wearing a mask, go right ahead and do it. But the point that I'm building to is that it's. There's incumbent upon all of us to assess the risk that is tolerable for us.
But what was the updated science that made the CDC change their minds? Because I didn't see it.
And that's exactly the point that I was building to, is that the CDC changed their guidance, right, with really no justification in the empirical science. We were given no reason why. It was just, and it really was the CDC director, I think, on a cable news show saying, like, the science has evolved.
So what we saw with Fauci was that there was one interview where he was asked, should people wear 2 masks? And he's like, well, it's just common sense if you wear 2 masks. Then he gets asked again, no, there's nothing saying to wear 2 masks. Then he comes out again, yeah, everybody should wear 2 masks. And all of a sudden people just wear 2 masks. It's like they're playing Simon Says with this guy. He is one of the worst, most dangerous individuals in this country. And you want something really freaky? I saw this out of Dallas. There's a video that somewhat purports to show like 2 guys in the army going into a 7-Eleven and like randomly giving a dude a vaccine. And my question is like, at what point did we go from you can't speak positively about certain medications? Like when Trump was talking about hydroxychloroquine, YouTube was like, we'll ban you if you bring it up. Don't even talk about it. And now you've got people being like, outside of a 7-Eleven, just being like, without consulting your doctor, they're going to give you a medication. I'm like, nah, come on. You can't do that, can you? Like people got to talk to their doctors before they get this stuff. Apparently not anymore.
Well, of course. I mean, I agree.
Double standards, man.
Well, look, yes, double standards. And, ultimately, Dr. Fauci, I don't know. I like to think that he did his best, but to me, I think that there were political intentions behind some of the decisions that he was making. I mean, I will tell you this, certainly the radical left weaponized the virus in a way that they thought would benefit them, right?
Oh, definitely.
And
never let a good crisis go to waste.
And that is part of their playbook, right? And so I don't know. I'm glad to see that we're coming out of this, even though people are reluctant to take off the mask. But again, if people want to wear masks, fine. If you feel like you're high risk, fine. But it should be.
I just want to say though, going back to this, there's a positive note in this progressive winning that maybe we're not seeing. Maybe we're looking too much at the surface level. A 30-point blowout. Could it be that many people have left the Democratic Party? And the only people that remain are progressives. So we're not seeing a landslide victory for the DA. We're actually seeing the moderate Democrats having quit, saying, I don't know, I'm Republican now.
I think it's a great point. I mean, what I think you're seeing is this is where the Democrat base is right now. It is largely out of touch with everyday Americans on either side of the aisle, specifically the blue collar people, unions that they building trade unions that they purport to represent. For a long time, by the way, police officers, especially in the state of Pennsylvania, where they're unions, like when they're Fraternal Order of Police, like in Western Pennsylvania, it's FOP 1, FOP 3. Out in Philadelphia, I think it's FOP 5. There's like a 50-50 split of Democrat Republicans, maybe even more Democrats than Republicans that are cops. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a police officer supporting Democrat causes. So to my point, moderate Democrats, I think there's not a home for them really in the Democrat Party. I mean, now listen, I come from a family that grew up in Allegheny County. Half of them are Allegheny County Democrats. They're blue dog, what you say, old school blue dog Democrats, pro-life, pro-gun Democrats. A lot of those people feel like they don't have a home in the Democrat Party today. So we try to give them a home with us, and we try to actually be that voice that the building trade unions don't have anymore in the Democrat Party. Now, it takes work and time and effort, but we're trying to do that. So, yes, I do.
I think I'm right. Actually, I pulled up the data, and I think I'm right. Check this out. The Democratic primary that just happened is Lawrence Krasner versus Carlos Vega. Carlos Vega was backed by the police unions. The polls showed it was really close. The total votes for this primary was 129,865 votes. Let's go back to the previous election. The Democratic primary in 2017, the total votes was 155,246. Now, it's possible that it was 155,000 because there were more people listed in the primary. And so some people who normally don't vote might show up for one of these individuals. But I actually think what we're seeing is there's around 26,000 less votes than there was last time. I'm willing to bet a lot of people just said, I don't vote Democrat anymore.
Yeah.
So they weren't in the primary at all.
It's a midterm. Well, it's an off-cycle election. So turnout is usually down. Although I will say, if you look at the Republican turnout this year, I think there was something like, I don't know, I look over at my campaign manager who's over there. He's my partner in crime on all this stuff. But I think there was something like 855,000 Republicans that turned out. And if you look back at like 2009, right, which I think was another off-cycle election, I think turnout for the Republican Party back then was something like 500,000. Wow. So you're looking at the difference in turnout there, right? Like, we're doing everything we can to organize and unite this party and bring people together and be the Big Ten party that I think the Republican Party is always intended to be, right?
What were you going to say?
No, I mean, we're the Big Ten party because I think we're the party of individual freedom, right? Individual sovereignty.
How is it ever that there's somebody running unopposed? That to me is crazy.
In this day and age, it is, but it is common in off-cycle elections.
So I'm looking at this general election for city controller. Rebecca Rinhart, only candidate listed. Is that it?
Where, in Philly?
Yeah, Philly general election for the Philadelphia city controller. There's just one person. Like, you literally could have walked in and be like, I guess I'll run. Why not? And then you may have actually won because people would just be like, I'll vote for the other person.
Yeah, I mean, it's yes.
Our elections are broken, man.
Well, I don't know that there are issues, right? There's no question about that. Although talking about election integrity in today's day and age,
I'm not even talking about integrity. I'm just talking about our culture.
The popularity contest.
Like, yeah, like
George
look
Soros
at this
can buy
guy.
a bunch of commercials.
So let me go back to the Krasner thing here. How many votes in the Republican primary in Philly do you think there were? There was 129,000 Democratic primary votes. For the Republican primary, how many votes do you think there were?
I don't know.
Random guess. What do you think?
Votes in Philadelphia
So
in the Republican primary?
129,000 people voted in the Democratic primary.
Voted in the Democratic in Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia, how many people voted in the Republican primary?
Wait, so the Democratic primary, Democrats had 129,000 people turn out?
Total votes, right.
On the Democrat side?
Yes.
So I would
the
say
Republican
30% of that number. So probably 15,000, 20,000?
9,404.
Oh.
So Republicans can't even go out and vote in these cities at all. I think the reality is apathy. No one's engaging this process. And so you've got people like us and people who are watching this show who are active and paying attention, who are trying as hard as possible to like push back on the tsunami. But the tsunami is apathy. It's people just sitting there lazy, eyes half closed, ignoring the problems around them.
Mitch McConnell gives the Republican Party a horrible name because it
awful.
should be the party of rock stars right now. Like it needs a resurgence culturally where it's exciting and like you think of youth and fun, which is what the Democrats basically did with Obama and Clinton.
Here's what's funny. The Democratic Party used to be the celebrities, the rock stars, but they've all become rather square. And what I mean by that is like well within the box. They don't draw outside the lines anymore. No more punk rock. To see these punk rock people support Amazon and like, you know.
Yeah, it's not. I totally agree. I think conservatives like the Republican Party that I'm a part of, like we're the new punk rock. We're the party of the American working class.
Well, no, you might be, but Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham aren't. They're the opposite.
Well, I mean, look, they've been around for a long time, right? I mean, and they've got responsibility at the top as leadership and trying to bring people together. In the Republican Party, because we're an ideological, diverse party, it can be very, very hard to do that. Like, and you're looking at the vote today on the January 6th commission, right? Democrats rarely, and I mean rarely, if ever, break ranks. Their messaging is almost always the same. They're like the Borg, if you've ever watched Star Trek, right? Their messaging is on point. Their organizing is on point. They rarely break ranks, and because of that, they're very effective. Now, they've got the media to help them do that, right, as sort of the fly top cover for them. But Republicans, sometimes it can be like herding cats because we are the party of ideological diversity. We'll all believe different things. You know, you're welcome in the Republican Party as long as, I mean, to me, I think, you know, the base litmus test is you got to be small government, more freedom kind of person, you know, but.
Let me jump to the story from the Wall Street Journal. House backs creation of commission on January 6th Capitol riot. Former President Trump and GOP leaders urged Republicans to oppose the bill. So we're going to have some kind of 9/11 style commission on the Capitol riots. And I'm sorry, man, the Republican Party, I understand it's better than the Democrats for a lot of reasons, but why didn't they ever do anything about Black Lives Matter and Antifa when they had the power to do it?
Well, we never really had the power to do it under President Trump.
2017?
Well, I mean,
I guess they weren't paying attention.
The first 2 years of the Trump administration, I mean, I would argue that the Black Lives Matter and Antifa protests that really rampaged across the country, burned down federal courthouses. They burned down a police precinct in, I think, Minnesota. I mean, they were.
That was last year, though, so, you know, Republicans had lost the House at that point.
But that's what I mean. I mean, I think that most of the violent protests that we saw happened after the Republicans had lost control of all three branches of government.
How many riots were there over the past 4 years from far leftists?
I don't know off the top of my
Hundreds?
head. I would say
probably thousands.
I would absolutely say thousands. That
a single one, not a single instance in 2017 and 2018 warranted to Republicans any kind of action, but the Democrats get one, and they are going nuclear for months. A 9/11 style commission. This is the problem. The Democrats will stub their toe and blame the far right and scream at the top of their lungs, and the Republicans go, okay. And then you can literally get billions of dollars worth of damage, and the Republicans won't even send in National Guard to stop it. Trump will be like, please, please, in the National Guard. And the Democrats in these cities are like, no. And he goes, okay.
Well, I mean, I think part of the reason for that is that the Democrat Party, I mean, they have the largest super PAC in the world. I mean, they have, $1 billion corporate media, mainstream media that does nothing but fly cover for them and parrot their talking points, right?
Sure. But why do Republican candidates care more about the opinions of the New York Times than their own constituents?
So look, it's a great question, and it's part of what I think the Republican Party. I mean, look, if you're a candidate, right, and you're going to go out there on the parapet, be a Republican, be a conservative in this day and age, you have to know going in, Tim, that if the media, the main, not all the media, right? And I'm not trying to paint anybody with broad strokes here, but you got to know that the media is coming after you.
Definitely.
And you're not doing your job. You know that if they are coming after you, you're probably over the target, so to speak, to use military parlance, right? That's how I look at things. If they're attacking me, I know that I'm representing the people, and to me, ultimately, that's what this job is about. This job is about representing the people and being there for them, which is why, I mean, look, I think 2020, like running a campaign in 2020 was an unbelievable experience for me because I didn't know anything about campaigning. It was the first time I've ever done it. So I learned a lot. But one of the things that's just so important for Republicans, right, moving forward is not being beholden to like the big money, right? We had 45,000 individual donors. Because of that, we weren't really beholden to any sort of special interest corporation or even the Republican Party, even though I'm a Republican running on the ticket. It gave me the freedom to represent the people in the best way that I saw fit. And I think we did that to great effect. And we're going to take it to the next level on the Senate race. But yes, you as a Republican in this day and age, you have to be willing to stand on the parapet and take shots from the media, because if you're advocating for what you believe and what the people that you represent believe, they're coming after you.
I just got very little faith in anyone to actually be a leader in terms of standing up to the establishment, which is mostly Democrat, some Republicans. There's a reason why people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, even after everything she posted and said and then apologized for, and it's because she's feisty. She's a fighter. She fights like Donald Trump fought. And so she raises, $3-something million in the first quarter. So they can criticize her and smear her all she wants, and she revels in it. And people see that, and they're like, finally, someone is standing up. But
100%
look at
right.
this. Ted Cruz goes to Cancun or whatever, right? So we get the power outage, the freeze in Texas. Ted Cruz he flew to Cancun. Is that where he went?
Yeah, I think he just to take his family down there.
Regardless, the media freaks out, and then he's flying right back overnight. I'd have been like, you know what? Now the media's freaking out. I'm going to take a picture of myself, my feet up, sipping a martini, being like, is this what you want? Don't play stupid games. Now, he said he was just there to fly his family there and back. Sure, whether you want to believe him or not, I think he was going on vacation, and honestly, I don't care. You know what I do care about? Well, I'll say this first. Probably a bad move to be a representative of your community in a time of crisis and be like, I'm going to go to the beach. Nah, running for office, being in office is more than just showing up in Congress and talking. It's being a leader for your community and helping build that culture and lead by example. But if you want to go on vacation, I'm not going to cry about it. I'll tell you what really bothers me, that the media screamed and he was right back. Oh, no. Oh, geez. No. Oh, don't look at me. I don't care what the New York Times has to say about these people. I'm sick of the lies from the media. I'm sick of the fact that for 4 years, the Republicans in the Senate didn't do much of anything with what was going on. I remember from 2016, 17, 18, we knew censorship was a very serious problem, and the banning of Donald Trump's most ardent supporters was going to result in Republicans getting defeated. Republicans can't even express their own opinions. How could they expect to win at this point? And they did nothing.
I agree. Look.
No, I know.
You know
I'm
where
not ranting at you.
You know where I'm going with this, right? Like, it's happening to me right now.
Yeah.
Look, if you want to think, you talk about big tech censorship. I'm not. Section 230 is one thing. I don't think I necessarily support that because it hurts people like you, right? Like, but the
repeal of Section 230, or
repealing Section 230 hurts independent.
It needs to be reformed.
It needs to be reformed for sure, right? Something needs to be done about big tech
or state level laws, which we're seeing, Texas and Florida.
Yes, but look at what's happening to me. I'm a Senate candidate in the state of Pennsylvania, in arguably the biggest Senate race in the country, right? Senate control depends on the state of Pennsylvania, right? And go to Google right now, right? Just do it right now for your viewers. Like, search Sean Parnell Senate on Google and see if you can find my campaign website.
NBC News is the first link. Then your Twitter account, Politico.
I raise money on my campaign site. The only way I raise digital money is on that campaign site. Google has a monopoly on search engines, right? So you go and go. You got to be a forensic data analyst to find my website on Google. Now, if you're watching the show, go to Yahoo or go to Bing or go to DuckDuckGo and punch in Sean Parnell Senate and see what comes up.
Let's go to Bing.
Yeah, just see what comes up.
Bing. Sean Parnell Senate.
Just do a search. Yeah.
Hey, there you go. It's the first
it's
one.
It's the number one. So here's the thing.
Hold on. Yeah, Sean Parnell, former governor of Alaska, is actually the card that pops up. But your website is
so that's the point. So look, candidates. We already talked about, like, there's a direct correlation between your ability to raise money as a candidate and getting your message out. The Republican Party, they don't give you money. You know, like it's all about your ability to raise money. Now, you want to talk about big tech having their finger on the thumb or on their finger on the scale, tipping the scale in one direction. Now, Google any other candidate in the state of Pennsylvania.
Who would you be running against?
There's just Google a guy named John Fetterman, the lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania.
Fetterman? I got him.
Yeah, just Google him, see if his website comes up on Google first thing.
First thing is his Twitter, and then governor.pa.gov, then johnfetterman.com.
Okay, there you go. So if you're on Google, the primary mechanism that everybody in the country...
And he's running for the Senate.
And he's running for the Senate. So my opponent right now has, or a potential opponent right now...
There's a primary, right?
There's a primary, right? There's a Republican primary. But my point is... They have a distinct advantage right now, and this is big tech. I'm telling you, this is big tech putting their thumb on the scale, helping one side over the other. So yes, there needs to be reform. And by the way, this hinders my ability to raise money and get my message out. So smash my Win Red link and contribute to my campaign, because you can't find it on the website, and I'm gonna need all the help I can get in the Senate race in Pennsylvania.
You do. But I think it might be too late. So what year was it that Alex and Milo and everybody got banned? Was it 2018?
Yeah, that was
yeah.
a couple of years ago.
17 or 18.
Paul Joseph Watson got his Instagram taken down, and it was just like selfies in the sun or whatever, banned from Facebook. Milo, Alex. Now, people might not like them, but a lot of people do like them. And they were some of Trump's biggest supporters. And it was obvious. Get rid of the largest communities where people gather to support Donald Trump and other populist politicians, and you will beat them. And it happened. It happened over and over and over, and it kept happening. And I talk about this because I made a segment, something about Republicans are too stupid to deal with censorship to save their own careers. And here we go. Now they're not going to win. They're going to win where it's deep red. But I mean, I will say, surprisingly, the polling was tremendously favorable to Republicans in the 2020 election for sure. But right now, with what we're seeing out of Pennsylvania, for instance, Philadelphia specifically, 30-point lead for the progressive. All right, I don't think we're going to see a Republican huge turnout in the general, because it's a city.
Philadelphia is tough, but I will tell you, like, this is what I mean. Like, this is what I mean about going to certain places. The first week of the campaign, I went into South Philly. I went to the Italian market, and I talked to business owners there. Showing up matters. It doesn't mean you're going to get. It doesn't mean you're going to get a majority of the vote, but you've got to show up for people, right? And I've been on this show with you 4 times. It's not like I'm a crazy right-wing bomb thrower. Truthfully, I'm a consensus builder. I consider myself a leader, right? When I was in Afghanistan, I led the most diverse platoon you could possibly imagine. Rich next to poor, black next to white, Christians next to atheists, next to Muslims, Democrats next to Republicans, next to socialists. We figured out a way to make it work in one of the most hostile regions on the planet, because we figured out a way to look past our many differences as Americans and unite under a common banner and fight for a common mission. If I can do that in Afghanistan on a remote hilltop in one of the most hostile regions on the planet, we sure as heck can do it here in the country. That's my message everywhere, yet you can't find me on Google. And that's a problem. It's a real problem.
Do you know when the Republican primary is going to be?
For Senate?
Yeah.
It's a year. It's a year. So that if in case you're wondering, yes, that's a long time. Yes, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. But the problem is, and I do think campaigns generally last way too long, but we've already got candidates in the race raising a ton of money, especially on the Democrat side. And if we wait to get in, you could find yourself in a $10 million hole, and that's impossible to dig yourself out, So Yeah.
I mean, I suppose there's some optimism in that the Democrats have a very, very slim control right now, and they've gone back to sleep.
And
ratings are in the gutter because Democrats don't pay attention anymore.
Look, 2022 is going to be. Look, we talked about the ballot questions. That should give you a little inkling about where public sentiment is with regards to these lockdowns, for example, or control, which is really a core pillar of Democrats or radical Democrats. And so I think 2022 is going to be a great year for Republicans, conservatives, leaders in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is absolutely winnable. Absolutely winnable. I personally think we're going to win Pennsylvania.
So who are the senators right now for Pennsylvania?
Senator Pat Toomey, his seat's being vacated, right? So he's a Republican, and so there's an open seat. Right, it's an open seat, so you wouldn't be campaigning against an incumbent. You've got an open seat. It's the first time there's an open seat in Pennsylvania in a very long time. You got Senator Bob Casey, who is a Democrat, and he's been there for a couple terms.
Are they both
now.
up for re-election, or it's this?
No, just
Toomey.
Yes. So this is an open seat, right? So a Republican is retiring, and so yes, biggest Senate race in the country.
And so
by
if this
far.
goes Democrat. It's
you
51.
You lose control of the Senate. Period.
It's already, the tiebreaker goes to the Democrats because of Kamala Harris. So
we have the Senate seat in Pennsylvania is a must-hold seat. It's a must-hold seat.
It is because of Manchin. Manchin is the West Virginia Democrat who's Democrat, and the Democrats are outraged because they call him like the gatekeeper, the key holder.
That's right.
If you lose Pennsylvania, and it goes Democrat, Manchin's out, doesn't matter anymore. Now he can side with the Republicans, and the Democrats win.
You're 100% correct. And I mean, Kristen Sinema, Senator Sinema, right, out of Arizona, is sort of holding the line with Senator Manchin as well, right? But without Pennsylvania, the path to the majority is through Arizona, right, against Senator Kelly, a Democrat, or in New Hampshire, right? Pennsylvania. That's why my campaign motto is "Win Pennsylvania, Save America," because we are the true hedge against the radicalism of the new progressive left.
This is 2022.
This is 2022.
So it's also possible that Republicans take back the House, which even 538 right now is saying Republicans are likely going to win back the House. I'm not entirely confident unless we start seeing some actual populists, run and win many of these seats. Because if we just get more, establishment types like Cheney's or Kinzinger's, then just meaningless.
Candidates matter. Candidates matter a lot. And it's not just about, if you're out there and you're thinking of running for office, whether it's local, state, federal, it's not just about your ability to articulate a message, okay? It's about your ability to fundraise, and it is not easy, right? Fundraising means that you're on, people think that me running a campaign, first of all, is like on stage with Trump, like at a rally in front of 50,000 people. And yeah, that happens. And yeah, that was an unbelievable experience to be a part of that. But that's 1% of it. It's like 5 hours a day on the phone cold calling people. Have you ever done sales calls? Try cold calling people and say, hey, and then asking for like $2,900. See how often you get hung up on. See how often people tell you no. But you have to be relentless with it. And what I see is that all too often candidates aren't willing to do that. But you got to do it.
One of the biggest challenges for Republicans is when you're dealing with a message of we're going to give you free stuff versus be responsible for yourself and go work hard. I think I know where people are going to lean towards.
I don't know about that, Tim. I don't know how. I know that like, and I'll tell you, talking to business owners, like one of the main issues that they're facing right now, and whether it's in the restaurant industry, in the manufacturing sector, or whatever, is that we're paying people more to stay home on unemployment than go to work. That's a problem, right?
And people are choosing to do it.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, well, look, if you're a mother of three, you've got 3 little kids, and you have an opportunity to stay home with your kids for a few weeks and spend time with them, you're going to take that, and I'm not going to fault you, right?
Well, the GOP tweeted. You see that thing they tweeted?
What did they say?
That, more women are choosing to stay at home and be with their children than go to work. And all of these like Twitter conservatives were like, what is wrong with you?
I don't know. Look, I'm focused on winning the Senate in Pennsylvania in 2022. I can't speak to any of that, but like our job as leaders, I think, and part of my core philosophy is, my personal mission is to go to Washington when we win, do everything that I can to shrink the size and scope of the federal government, because I think that too much consolidated power in Washington, I believe that there's a direct correlation between that consolidated power and less freedom in our lives, right? And so we can shrink the size and scope of the federal government. We can divert as much power back to the states as humanly possible, because ultimately the states are the experts. I mean, states are they know what they need, right? And so more freedom in our lives is a good thing. And then when I'm done with that, I mean, I'm not a career politician. You're not going to see me in Washington for 40 years, but you can bet after a couple terms, I'm going to get myself a farm in Western Pennsylvania and probably never talk to anybody again. But yeah, I know you do. But the point is that I think by and large, it's our job to advocate for things like pro-growth policies, right? Like low taxes, letting people keep more of their own money, rolling back regulations to make sure that Pennsylvania is a place where people can start a business and not feel like it's too onerous of a process, right? Protecting the energy industry, understanding that there are a couple different pillars underneath that issue, one of which is the economic issue, people paying more for gas right now than they probably should, more to heat their homes. That economic issue disproportionately affects middle income to lower income families. Like, we don't want that, right? We want those families to be lifted up and keep more of their money. So to the extent that we can be energy independent, it's good for middle class, lower income people. But there's also significant national security implications for it. You look at what's happening now, right? Joe Biden cancels the Keystone XL pipeline, puts 10,000 plus union workers out of work, hurts our energy independence all with the stroke of a pen, while approving and rolling back sanctions on Russia to approve their pipeline. So Joe Biden is literally creating jobs in Russia, helping their energy independence, helping the Russian economy to allow them to export natural gas all around the world, while they're on the border of Ukraine. Imagine if President Trump did that. They would be calling him a Russian asset.
Well, they already were, but
of course they already were, but yes,
this proves it.
Yeah, this proves it. But you see my point, right? And so, energy independence is something that's important. It's a major pillar of the economy in Pennsylvania, and healthcare is a big deal, right? The GOP has not had a good answer on healthcare for a long time. And I think, part of my platform is having a good market-based, innovative plan for healthcare. Like we all talk about, there's the Republican talking points of letting insurance companies compete across state lines, more flexibility, more choice means lower cost for the consumer, and a more diverse healthcare plan offering. All of that's great. And talking about association healthcare plans, of the idea of small businesses being able to band together to have the same purchasing power as large corporations. That's good, right? But what if we think outside the box for a second and take things a step further and say, why don't we let individuals of a similar age, sex, demographic, with similar healthcare needs, individuals band together on app-based technology? It essentially becomes an insurance pool. You have millions of people on, you can call it a platinum plan, gold plan, silver plan, whatever. But people that, like 25-year-olds have similar healthcare needs, right? Like, it's not perfect, right? But you can invest money. You pay a certain amount of money on a monthly fee for a healthcare app. You become a member of that healthcare plan, and you allow individuals now to have the same purchasing power as large corporations. Republicans need to start thinking outside the box on having good, pragmatic policy solutions to make our lives better.
It's true, but you go to a regular person and say, they want you to come up with some plan for banding together. We're just going to give you free stuff.
Well, the problem is that, first of all, it's not virtuous to take someone else's money, tax someone else, and give their money to someone else.
There are a lot of people who don't care.
Well,
just give me the free stuff. I don't care.
They will care, because the problem is eventually you run out of other people's money.
And then the Democrats come out and blame the Republicans, saying it's your fault for not raising the debt ceiling or whatever. And so you look at what's going on with these police, and they defund the police. There's then no cops to deal with crime. And they say, see, look, the cops aren't even doing anything anyway. They use the problem they create to then advocate for more destruction of the system.
Well, that
you can't just be like free healthcare, which is what they keep saying. And regular people who don't know are like, I'll vote for that. And they're like, okay, now how do we do it? Well, you can't, so let's just fake it till you make it. So they're like, print more money, I guess. I think AOC actually said deficit spend. Oh, right. Just basically, you're just talking about stripping away the value of the working class from their savings to fund healthcare.
Yeah,
it's distribution.
Well, it's not even just healthcare. If you're looking at Joe Biden, I think, in his first 100 days as president, infused something like $2.5 trillion of cash into the economy. And what you're seeing is not just a lackluster jobs report. I think they expected, close to 1 million jobs. They got 250,000. It's absolutely horrible, right? So there was that. In addition to inflation just this month, 4.2%, right? Now, inflation means the dollar individuals have less purchasing power. Their dollar is worth less. It's basically, inflation is a tax on everybody. And again, it disproportionately affects middle to lower income people. When you want to look at inflation, you see inflation reflected in the cost of our commodities. Like, try to go and buy lumber to build a deck on your house, and you're going to spend probably 5-6 times as much on that wood, right? So inflation is not just on our doorstep, it's here. Joe Biden, for all he talks about, no, he's not going to tax people that make less than $400,000 a year. First of all, I wouldn't believe that. He's going to, okay? But inflation is a tax on the middle income. It's a tax. It's on middle income families, right? Not being energy independent essentially is a tax on the middle income, lower income families. So, what the point that I'm building to here is that it's our job as leaders in the Republican Party to have policies and be able to specifically articulate those policies that advocate for pro-growth positions, and they can't just be talking points. You have to talk about why it's important to make to advocate for policies to make Pennsylvania prosperous, right?
Let's talk about policies that we don't want. We have this story from the Daily Mail. Exclusive. It's become an outdoor psychiatric ward. How California's scenic Venice Beach has become a homeless hotspot with tent cities, violent crime, and rampant drug use pushing families and tourists out. I'm not even sure I can show any of the photos because you might get in trouble on here. But you can see that for a lot of reasons. It's just wow. That's all I can say. I was in Venice only a few years ago. I skate at the skate park there all the time. You got these before and after 2015 to 2021.
Yikes.
You swipe across tent cities. Something doesn't work in California. Their policies are just a disaster. And it's unfortunate because, Northern California is very different from the big cities in California. And when most people talk about California, they're not talking about the farming territories and the counties in the east. They're talking about LA and San Francisco, maybe Sacramento, the Bay Area. Even San Diego's I think they still have a Republican mayor. But their policies don't work. Whatever this is, there's a recall now for Gavin Newsom. What you see in places like California will be coming to many more places in this country if these policies expand. So if Pennsylvania ends up going Democrat, they're just going to keep burning the place down. It's going to become more and more like this.
I mean, you're right. I mean, California has been under a uniparty rule, Democrat rule for how long now? 30, 40, 50 years? I mean, something insane.
It was Republican before 91 or 92?
Yeah. And so I think that there is a direct correlation between, this new progressive Democrat views and entrenched poverty in places like California and drug use and high crime, right? But
people keep voting for it.
I mean, in some places, and I think Pennsylvania is one of those places that, in 2022, Pennsylvania has a lot of independents that I think are going to have buyer's remorse that perhaps believed Joe Biden was a moderate. Not their fault. The media portrayed him as a moderate, and big tech censored stories that were negative about him. And so you saw that poll of what percentage of people would have voted differently had they known the Hunter Biden? I mean, that alone. It
was like an average of 6% of people?
6 or 7% of people, would not have voted for Joe Biden had they known that story. And big tech totally censored it.
Absolutely.
They censored one of the oldest newspapers in the country. So it's not like it was a newspaper that they censored. So I think that I think that there's going to be a lot of independents, and I think there's even going to be some moderate Democrats saying, "Whoa, this is not what I bargained for." And so, you know me, I'm an idealist when it comes to this country. I think it can be saved with the right candidates, with the right message and the ability to articulate and willingness to go to the places where you need to build bridges, and that's what we're trying to do in Pennsylvania.
What's your history like politically? What did you affiliate as in your 20s? And
I've always been conservative. I don't know. Have you ever seen that movie Legends of the Fall?
No, only clips.
Everyone on the show is like, "What? Parnell watched Legends of the Fall?" Yeah, I watched it once when I was younger. But I have a lot of I have a lot of libertarian, views. Well,
views.
I mean, I don't like the government. I don't think that they run things efficiently. And if you don't believe me, like, let me think of an example, like Cash for Clunkers. Remember that? Like, they come with an awesome program, right? They ran out of cash in a month. The government does not. Remember the Obamacare website?
Remember when Obama gave all those guns to the cartels?
Oh, I remember.
The
There
Fast
was
and
that.
Furious. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. Oh, and can I also say something? Classical liberalism, right? After the Vietnam Wars, really, I think, was when it was born, was all based on critical thinking and mistrust of the government, right? And
Well, classical liberalism is like what founded this country.
Well,
the
sure.
ideas of Locke and then-
Of course. But in the wake of the Vietnam War, like if the government told you to eat white bread, most liberals were like, "No, I'm eating wheat bread," just because the government told you. But somewhere,
Yes.
somewhere along the way, there's been a shift on the left from the sort of classical liberalism and tolerance and diverse set of ideals to believing everything the government says, hook, line, and sinker with no critical thinking.
Just, you gotta not be a conservative. That's it. So even now when Fauci is like, you can take off your mask if you're vaccinated, they're like, no, because then people will think I'm a conservative. Well, who cares? What is it that their whole identity is built upon hating somebody? That's it. It's like, what are your politics? I just hate that guy. Is that it? That's right.
That's
Okay.
part of the reason why. That's part of the reason why, I think it's very important to be a happy warrior, right? Because, if you're running a campaign, one of the things you have to do is draw a contrast, right? Give people a choice, right? And I think one of the ways, the radical left today's day and age, they're pretty unhappy. They're unhappy. And I feel like they're unhappy a lot.
But
and
I'll tell you this. In the past year, 2 years, we have seen the biggest de-radicalization of the left that we've probably ever seen in this country. I'm pretty impressed. So a lot of the people I knew from Occupy Wall Street, the Antifa far leftists, they're cheering for major pharmaceutical companies. They're cheering for the FBI and the government. And I'm like, I see their posts. And I'm not kidding. Like Antifa types saying like, yay, FBI, you go get Giuliani. And I'm like, I'm glad to see that you've reformed your ways and you're pro-federal government. And they're like, well, I mean, it's different now because they're going after people I like. And I'm like, yeah, so you like the FBI, right? Like that's cool. I remember when you thought they were bad and wanted to you hated the government and were protesting all the time. Now you're cheering for the government. Now you're cheering for the massive multinational pharmaceutical company. So, hey, good for you. I thought you were kind of off the deep end. They don't seem to self-reflect. 10 years ago, they're like Monsanto bad. These big pharmaceutical companies are evil. Now they're like, yay, which team are you on? And
yeah, well, I think that's why the Republican Party they've got a tremendous opportunity, right? I think that, President Trump, he brought about a massive shift in the Republican Party, especially in Pennsylvania, right? Where in the span of 4 years, the Republican Party has become less the part. I mean, in fact, probably not at all at this point, the party of large corporations to the party of the working man and woman. Like the shift is like unbelievable.
Right. And the Democrats are the party of the elites, the wealthy elites.
And the college professors and the Hollywood people and
the
and
highest
the big
income earners in the country have been demanding for 4 years that the working class pay off all of their debts.
Yes.
And we're to the point now where Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders have entertained stripping the value from the working class savings to pay off the debts of the highest income earners in the country. I want everyone to think about that for 2 seconds. Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren were in favor of stripping the savings, devaluing the savings of the working class to pay off the highest income earners' debts.
That's absolutely correct.
That's college degrees.
Yes.
People with college degrees make substantially more than people without it, and those people are demanding the poor pay their bills for them. I'm not all about that. That's wrong.
That is wrong, and that's you're 100% correct.
Have the conservatives moved? Like they appear to be even lefter than many of the modern Democrats. Like, no joke. You've got the Trump supporters. Many are working class union guys who want their factories back. And then you've got the university leftists with their degrees and their Hillary Clinton and their hedge funds and their super PACs. And then you see the neocons, Lincoln Project people joining the Democrats. How is it that Republicans are left of the establishment Democrats? They're defending the workers' rights, not the Democrats. The Democrats are stripping away their rights, stripping away their value, giving money to the bourgeoisie.
Look, I think the Republican Party has to embrace this new identity, this new working class identity. These are our people. These are the people that built this country, right? And I think that we've got to be there for them. We can't shun them. I mean, Jim Banks had a memo. If you've seen Jim Banks's memo, the working class memo, and basically it's Congressman Banks is I think he's great, but he's got a memo out there about the path forward for the Republican Party, and it's like a 2-page plan of what the Republican Party needs to do to be successful. It's awesome, and we should totally embrace it. You should Google it right now and have a look at it. But it's something that we should definitely look. It's showing up for the people.
Here's what you do. You just write down what Ron DeSantis does. And then just be like what he said.
He's coming to Pittsburgh tomorrow.
Oh,
I'm going to be with him tomorrow. Yeah,
excellent.
He's coming to our Lincoln.
He's been doing a fantastic job. He's far from perfect.
He's balanced. He's balanced. Protecting people from a global pandemic with people's freedom, right? And he's done
social media censorship.
Yeah, he's done a pretty darn good job.
There are concerns about what people question, conservatives, his stance on free speech issues. Like, he may be opposed to the censorship, but it's aimed mostly at affecting politicians. And then there are some issues around people's right to free speech, I think relating to Israel, that people are concerned about. But I look at, I don't just see like one thing and say, flush the baby out the bathwater. I'm like, Ron DeSantis is doing it pretty well. Texas is doing pretty well too. Their social media bill apparently is much, much better. And we need to see more red states start having this aggressive legislation to go after these companies and these things. Because I'll tell you, Florida has this bill that's I believe DeSantis may have already signed it or he's about to sign it, which gives protections to individuals, companies, news organizations, and politicians when it comes to censorship. However, Facebook, as Ian points out, could be like, then we're cutting off Florida. And if you have a Florida IP, you can't access the service anymore. Sure. Then what happens in West Virginia, Tennessee, Texas, Arkansas, Mississippi, Georgia? They all start lining up with the exact same legislation. Okay, then Facebook only exists in New York and California. How about that? No, they wouldn't want that. That would destroy the company. So they would say, okay, fine, you win. We'll stop censoring conservatives. One of the biggest problems that I have with politics right now is that I mentioned conservatives. Many Republicans seem to be more concerned about the opinion of the New York Times than their constituents. Like, they're more worried the New York Times will say about them than their own constituents.
Yeah.
You look at what the media says and they lie every single day. They say there is no bias against conservatives. And I'm like, but you're the one. It was Gizmodo that broke the first story, one of the first, that Facebook was censoring conservative news outlets. Now they changed their tune because they realized it's a good thing. These journalists who first reported it were like, oh, look what I found. Then they were like, no. We like that they're censoring these ideas because then people can't have them. If they don't share the ideas, they won't know. So keep them ignorant. Keep them in the dark. Treat them like mushrooms. You feed them crap and you keep them in the dark. So now you're going to start seeing a lot of states, hopefully, start picking this up. I'm stoked when I look at the past 10 years and I see how many states have adopted constitutional carry. Fantastic. Mm-hmm. It's remarkable. I didn't even realize that in the 80s, you couldn't even get a concealed carry permit in most states. It was like May issue. They tell you to screw off. Now it's constitutional carry. You walk in, you pass a background check, you walk out with a gun, and you can be carrying it, concealing it, whatever. Fantastic. Protecting people's rights. Let's see the same thing across the board at the state level. The states need to start passing these laws. Local is where it's at.
Yeah, and yes. I would also say that I think it's very the states that do the best have a great communication between their federal office holders, the governor, and the state legislatures, right? So I think I think a governor can have an unbelievable power if he's got a legislature that's willing to work with him. They can get a lot of things done and bring about profound positive change in people's lives. I think you take that to the next level where you've got a governor that's communicating seamlessly with like a senator or congressmen or women, and everything is working like a smoothly oiled machine. That's how you do it. And that's really what we're trying to do in Pennsylvania with regards to uniting the Republican Party, both in Washington, D.C. as a liaison, as a candidate for Senate, as a liaison to the federal government, but also working hand in glove with those state representatives who are boots on the ground in their communities every day and making sure our messaging is on point, our organizing is on point, our fundraising is on point, and we're advocating for policies that are the best for all of Pennsylvania at every level, right?
I'm concerned that just the fragmentation of the U.S. is getting too severe. When you look at these cities, they got rising crime. They have ongoing riots, and they just, for whatever reason, you get more far leftists in. And then I can only imagine that in the red areas, people are separating each other. Like how many people have moved to Texas recently? Tons of personalities that are conservative are fleeing to Texas. So Texas is going to become increasingly more red. The blue areas will become increasingly more blue. And then there's going to be no real overlap.
I think there's some people that would say that there are leftists moving from California to Texas, and that's why people are worried about Texas turning blue, right? There's this whole Texas turning blue movement. Yeah. So that's why people are leaving states where they voted in Democrat leadership for 30 years and then going and essentially voting the same way in Texas. And I don't think Texas is gonna turn blue, but people always talk about it.
I think now it won't, because people who are fleeing to Texas are conservative, or at least opposed to the Democrats.
They saw a huge rise in homeless in Austin recently. I mean, it might just be everywhere in all these metropolitan cities. But
evictions are starting up, I think, in 2 months because the moratorium was ended.
In Texas?
Everywhere. So we were on the verge of looking at like millions upon millions of evictions.
They said on 6th Street in Austin, it's just like tent city. And in California, not just in Venice, in California and LA, there's just tent city up and down,
I heard something scary.
I don't know what streets.
It's a video rumor going around that the U.S. government is threatening subsidies of farmers. So there's a thing, I think it's called fallowing, where they're basically paid not to grow food.
Yeah.
And so there's a concern right now that because of the shortages and everything that's happening and how the tax subsidies work, that we're like 8 months out from some serious food shortages. I wouldn't be surprised. The idea that you can just stop an economy dead in its tracks and then snap your fingers and get it back going again, no. Well, the workers are displaced.
What would be the end state for that? Like, how could that possibly be a good thing? Like, I haven't heard.
No, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying anybody wants to do it. I'm saying that
But why would the federal government want to do it?
The system by which we have subsidies for farmers has created a circumstance based on everything that's happened, which is contributing to the probability of more food. So there's already food shortages. I guess you're not seeing it national news, but if you look at these local news outlets, they're talking about food shortages. Now there's rumors that the supply chain disruption, the rising fuel costs have made everything substantially harder. Workers are displaced because of the pandemic. Many moved. They're not going to go back to those jobs.
Right.
People don't realize that the shortage we're seeing for like computer chips, what do you think is going to happen with food? Like, do you think that food is immune from the shortages we're experiencing in the economy?
No. In fact, it's the supply, the logistics chain is real, right? And you look at the cost of food and how much people are paying for certain things. It is absolutely concerning. And my fear is that because we're seeing inflation now. I think the federal government, like, they're not going to hard default on our debt, right? I do think
they're going to print their way out.
Our
of it.
Debt and deficit issues are the greatest leadership challenge that my generation of leaders are going to face, right? It's a big deal. We've got to figure out what to do with our debt and deficit, but we're not going to hard default on our debt. But I do think what the plan is a soft default, which is to purposefully inflate our currency so that the value of our debt is worth less. Right. And I think that's what you're seeing right now. And I think that's what you're talking to right now. And my fear is that we are on the brink of we're on the brink of what could be a recession. I think a year from now, and hopefully we can pull ourselves out of it. But like, we really have to start advocating for growth economic policies like right away. We really have to start.
I don't know how you fix this, man. The train, it's a freight train on the tracks, and then they just stopped it, and then all the carts flew up in the air from the inertia and just scattered all over. And now they're like, all right, set the train up again. And you're like, bro, one cart like rolled down the mountain. It's in the ocean. I don't even know how to get that back up here.
Yeah.
So when they shut down the economy, and this idea that you could just start it up again is ludicrous. Let's say you've got 10 employees making $16 an hour at a restaurant. Economy shuts down. These people who are in their early 20s decide to move back home. They go to the suburbs to stay with their parents. Okay, start the economy back up. Restaurant goes, we don't have any employees. We have to rehire everybody to start. We don't have any money. Food all spoiled. You can't just do it.
We just spent an entire week going all across the state talking to business owners from Erie down to South Philly, and they've all had that problem. Yep. It is not imaginary. And
nobody wants to work when you're getting paid more not to work.
Yeah, and you're right. Like they're having issues both in shipping and logistics and food processing and finding truck drivers, and the cost of fuel has made it more difficult on truck drivers to get from point A to point B. I mean, there are issues at every level. I mean, again, I think it can be saved, but it's going to take leadership and focus and clear communication, clear, honest communication with the American people, which is not Joe Biden's strong suit. So, look, that's why it's so important. That's why it's so important to win in 2022. That's why the slogan is "Win Pennsylvania, Save America."
I want to bring up a story we have here. This is really cool, and I saw this story over at Daily Mail. It's body cam captures moment cop single-handedly lifts overturned car off Virginia mother thrown outside vehicle after crash. And first of all, I was like, dude, that is cool. A cop, to save a woman, lifted the vehicle by himself.
Amazing.
Wow. Now, I think it was upside down and he was able to push it off and roll it or something. But I was also thinking, you rarely see these stories go viral.
Exactly. I was just sitting here thinking the same thing. It's you got all of this anti-police rhetoric every single day, which is, of course, why you're seeing violent crime rise in a city like Philadelphia. It's and you talk about removing a cop's qualified immunity. Give your viewers an example of what that means. As a soldier on the battlefield, you've got protection in that regard too. So in other words, if one of my soldiers gets injured, I run out and I try to render first aid. Maybe they got a sucking chest wound, and we save their life, put them on a helicopter, get them back to the States, and maybe they have an issue with their lungs. Right? Should that soldier be able to sue the federal government or the Department of Defense because he was wounded on the battlefield? Right now, it's illegal. You can't do that because at the end of the day, you're in combat, you're surrounded by death and destruction. You're doing the best you can to save lives.
So the government is immune from
the DOD or the Army in general.
So what does this mean for the cop?
Well, what it means for the cop is that if a cop is out there just trying to do their job, and they can be sued by anybody for doing anything 800 times. Absolutely. So it's like defunding. You're 100% right. It's like defunding the police without actually
right. They're all it's all eroding.
You're going to be yes.
I think that one's a challenge because I'm not entirely sure how you deal with it. Just not being able to sue. Maybe there should be a higher burden or something, because when we had, I think Chauvin, they said he had, 19 complaints or something out of 18 years. And I'm actually sounds pretty good. You'd think a cop is I'm writing you a ticket. I'm going to complain about you. It's everyone's going to complain. Nobody wants to get pulled over. Nobody wants to get arrested.
The point, what we're talking about though is to your point is all we hear is the negative. But cops, they are out there every single day putting it all on the line, doing good things for people. And this story is just one example of it.
It's a cool story. Let me show a little bit. So this is a vehicle flipped over, and the officer was able to lift it up to save the individual. I mean, I'll just give you the bullet points here. They say Gloucester County Sheriff Deputy John Holt rescued the woman when she had been trapped under the sunroof of the car after it wrecked on May 7th. Her young son is heard desperately crying out, "Mommy, mommy," before the deputy was able to rescue her. Oh. The incredible video has since gone viral after being shared on Tuesday by the sheriff's office with more than 84,000 views on Facebook. That's not viral. 84,000 views, not viral. You can go on Twitter and there's a video of some random dude farting. It's got 1 million views. You want to talk about viral? They say he recently received a local and regional top cop award for saving a disabled young girl and a woman from a burning home last March. But I still see this, and I'm I've heard these stories about how people can muster up inhuman strength because humans are actually much stronger than we are on a daily basis. I don't know exactly how it works, but I read there's a limiter that humans only exert around 20% of their actual muscular capacity.
How do you know this stuff?
I read as I'm on Reddit, and someone posted did you know?
This is fast. I'm just I
don't know if it's true. You got to fact check me on this one, but it's something we there's a limit to how much strength we can use unless we get our adrenaline pumping and there's a live or die moment, because your muscles start destroying themselves when you exert too much. But what you hear these stories about a mother, and she's able to pull her daughter up, hanging from with one arm and lift them up and then pull herself up to save a child or lift a vehicle. These are cool stories. And so I want to make sure we're not always just stewing in the negativity, but there's still some negativity here. What happens on Facebook? I saw a video going viral today, and it was it was on Reddit, and it was cop kicks a man in the head, even though he's already subdued and is being arrested. And it was true. There's a video of a guy's on the ground with his hands behind his back, the cop's cuffing him, and a cop runs up and just punts his head. And I'm Now, why would that cop do that? More importantly, I've seen this video 1,000 times because it gets recycled. They put it up, it gets traffic, they put it up again. This story, 84,000 views. A cop lifted a vehicle to save a woman. How many times is that going to get recycled? It's not. It only got 84,000 views. I see this video on Reddit. It's got 1 million views. In a week, it'll have 1 million views again. In a month, it'll have 1 million views again because they keep sharing the same things over and over and over again.
These social media companies and search engines control what you see. And when you control the flow of information, you control what people think in certain regards.
And now people hate the police. I mean, look, you look at the algorithms and what they've produced over the past 10 years, it sounds like Jack Dorsey and Mark Zuckerberg purposefully want to destroy this country. They have driven people insane. There are people who literally believe the cops go around hunting black people. They actually believe that. So PragerU, they send out Will Witt. Will goes to like Venice Skate Park in California, same skate park we were talking about just a moment ago. And he asked 3 young black men, how many unarmed black men do they think had been killed in the past year? And they're like, thousands. It's like 19. It's bad. Like 19 people. But we're in a country of 320 million people. What is it? 375 million police interactions. 19 of which resulted in unarmed black men being shot and killed. And of those, some of them are actually justified. In like a guy was trying to run someone over, so he's not armed, but he's using a car. Or they're about to attack someone, or they're about to they grab someone by the throat and they're beating them or pummeling them. Or sometimes it was a wrongful shooting. In some circumstances, they're all bad. We don't want people to die.
Of course not. Right.
But because of social media, because they weaponize this stuff, everyone goes insane. And don't get me wrong, it goes the other direction too. What you see on the left today is, I think social media has helped form the culture war into factions of people who blindly just believe whatever the media says, no matter what, and the people who, for the most part, distrust the media, with a decent portion who distrust no matter what the media says, that they'll distrust them. So you end up with people who believe the earth is flat, or who believe in these weird conspiracy theories about lizard people because they go online and they can find this stuff and they believe it. And I hear some of the craziest stuff when I read the news. But do those people have any institutional power? The people who think the earth is flat, are they in Congress? No.
Well, people believe in God. I mean, that's almost as ridiculous.
No, absolutely not.
There's zero evidence ever.
I mean, you're going to ignite a whole other conversation.
It is. It's a big conversation.
But there's not zero evidence. The issue is, if you want to talk about theism and like religious text and doctrine, I'm not talking about that. So I'm talking about people. You could literally climb a tower and measure the shadows and calculate the circumference of the planet, like that dude Eratosthenes did in 1 BC.
Because you can disprove the earth is flat. It's different than God.
You can prove the earth is round.
Right.
Believing in God and faith-based things and having philosophy is an entirely different discussion.
Lizard people, I mean,
right? There's
no evidence.
Lizard people is dramatically different from believing in God, dude.
But it's dramatically similar.
No, it's not.
Yeah, there's just no evidence. I'm agnostic. I mean,
I don't want to deviate and derail the conversation. You're confusing a philosophical and theological conversations with text and fairy tales.
Well, there's text about the flat Earth. That's where it comes from.
Yeah, but there's no scientific
and things like that.
Okay, dude.
Yeah, it's not. It was before science was invented.
People go online and they watch insane videos about insane things and they believe it. They go online and they read books about, they see things about critical race theory. It's insane and they believe it. And that's bad. Zealotry and fundamentalism, all of these things are problems. They exist. So the problem is we need critical thinking. Instead, we get critical theory. And then people just blindly follow and march off cliffs like lemmings.
Well, and it's not just social media, right? Like much of the sort of propaganda that is pushed on people on social media is also taught in schools. And so we're teaching our kids from a very young age in our public schools, like critical race theory, for example, that, teaches kids to dislike each other or think about each other based on the color of their skin.
Or hate their country.
Or hate their country, or think that America is fundamentally evil or bad. And this is a problem. And not only is it happening in our schools, now it's happening in our military, right? Like there are ideological purity tests for people in the military, teaching critical race theory in the military. And I'm telling you, look, I got out. I was medically retired in 2010. So it wasn't that long ago. I mean, we're talking like 11 years ago I got out. This stuff was nowhere to be found in the military because it ain't about you, right? In the military, one of the things they teach you at basic is that it's okay. All of this, like, it ain't about you anymore. So we're going to shave your head. We're going to put you in a uniform. We're only as fast. This team is only as fast as its slowest person. We're all going to make our bed the same way. Our lockers are all going to be the same way, because what they're doing there is they're whittling down the individual identity, and they're creating a collective, right? And and look past our differences, work together. But that is
sounds a bit like what the critical theorists do.
But that's not. But see, the difference is that the focus in critical race theory is only on our differences.
Right.
That's a fundamental difference. And in the military, that can get you killed.
Because the goal of critical theory is to destroy. It's to deconstruct.
Yes.
They I've known many of these people for a long time, and they have routinely expressed their desire is to destroy the system. They just want to watch. Some say, I just want to watch it burn. Some say, from the ashes of the old, we will build the new. That's the idea. So critical theory is their means to an end. They think they will deconstruct everything, make it impossible to have communications. They will fracture any ability for a collective identity within the United States. And after that, it's rubble. Then they'll come back with their, whatever, communism, socialism.
We were always taught growing up that the reason why America was such a wonderful place, or part of the reason, was that we have people from all over the world that come here to live the American dream, be free, give a good life to their kids. Why? Because America is a melting pot. Do you remember that? Were you ever taught that as a kid?
Of course, the great American melting pot.
Yes. Well, America right now, it's a melting pot that's not melting. And that's a problem.
Critical theory is trying to re-emulsify the differences. Whereas we used to believe that you throw everybody in the melting pot and you get a nice fondue with a bunch of different flavors. They're actually trying to reverse entropy to get the pepper jack back out of the fondue.
You just compare America and the American people to fondue? I've never
You
actually
said melting pot.
I've never had fondue.
It's good.
It's a melting pot.
What is it?
It's melted cheese.
I talk about derailing the conversation. I'm sorry, but I don't know what
That's
fondue is.
Fondue is a melting pot.
My diet.
You get a little thing. You throw cheddar and you throw in Swiss and pepper jack and whatever. And then you turn it on, and it melts all of the cheeses together. And then you dip stuff in the cheese.
It sounds like something that you would. It sounds like something that you would really like.
It's incredible.
We have one on the counter right now.
Of course
downstairs.
you do. Of course.
Well, or you can take like oil, some garlic, some vinegar, soy sauce, and then boil it. And then you put the meat in it. You blends everything. It's just a pot for.
This sounds a little adventurous to me. If I go to a restaurant, you give me dino chicken nuggets, some tater tots, I am good.
Here's the point.
I eat like a 2-year-old.
The Great American Melting Pot.
I don't know how we're here. I don't know how we got here.
It's the Great American Melting Pot. Listen.
Like
The Great American Melting Pot, right? You get some Chihuahua cheese from Mexico. You get some American cheese from America. You get some good Dubliner from Ireland. I think it's from Ireland. And then you throw it all in a pot, and it all melts together. And we're like, this is some great cheese. What is it? I just mixed a bunch of stuff together. I do it all the time. I take like Colby Jack and Pepper Jack and Swiss and Havarti, and I just blend it up and I make nachos. And I'm like, isn't it amazing that you can get this great blend of cheeses? You ever have 4-cheese pizza?
What, like DiGiorno?
Yeah, you're like, I'll take the 4-cheese pizza.
Of course.
Now imagine if you're hanging out with someone and they were like, "Can I take the ricotta out of this pizza?" And you're like, "Dude, it's all blended together." Yeah, I know, but we should remove it.
Yeah, at some point.
You're like, that's critical theory.
Or I only want to eat that little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
And the rest is wasted after you only eat that
mozzarella supremacy needs to end. Our pizzas should have different cheeses. So get the mozzarella out. You're like, but we melted it all together. Well, in the future, let's actually put blocks so that your pizza is actually.
What you're saying is accurate. I mean, they're actually, like in certain colleges, they're having graduations.
They have segregated dorms.
This is not progressive. This is like, to be a progressive in today's day and age is actually to be a regressive. Like, they're going backwards in time with this stuff.
But they love using language. That's why. So I see on Twitter they're like,
critical race theory is diversity and inclusion training.
There's a reason why they say diversity, inclusivity, and equity.
You gotta tell me, right? Like
diversity, inclusivity, and equity.
Oh, I see what you did there.
I didn't do that.
I didn't even realize it.
Diversity, inclusivity, and equity. These are the things they're calling for. They're literally saying die. I don't know why they do that.
Well,
they could not do that.
They do control. The left does an extraordinary job at controlling the language, right? And that's what we're talking about now. Like, critical race theory is inherently bad for the country, as we mentioned. It teaches people to hate their country, but they mask it and shroud it in words that sound nice.
They literally create diversity, inclusivity, and equity positions. Could you imagine someone hiring a special position in a company, and they say, "This is our die manager, die," and it's like, it's a little weird.
Yeah, well, hopefully they don't use the acronym or come up with something different or reshuffle the words.
But it's almost like they're laughing in our faces.
You've got
why are companies hiring diversity officers? What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything.
It's doublespeak. It's 1984.
Right.
Orwell.
It's basically in communist China, companies have to have the Communist Party member. In the United States, they're just getting these companies to create an ideological, dogmatic job that makes no sense other than to indoctrinate the employees.
What I'll say is that, specifically in the context of the military, because I've been speaking out about this, but like, diversity it's a good thing. Like, in my platoon, we were very diverse, and because we were very diverse, we had a multitude of ideas that were brought to the table all the time. But you have to take diversity it's I don't want to say it's meaningless, but you have to have unity beyond the diversity in order for it all to work.
Yeah, I think diversity is a result of empowering individuals with opportunity. The diversity then comes from that.
Yes.
You can't force. I mean, if you force superficial diversity, you're going to end up with homogeneity.
Mm-hmm.
Homogeneity. That's it. Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing. That's why they call it critical race theory. It's got a term that encompasses all this.
Critical theory. So one of the other mistakes people make is they say critical race theory and they cut out the rest of it. It's like, no, it's critical theory in general.
Yeah, there's critical gender theory, there's critical literature, and critical literature theory. And I would say that true diversity is actually a huge strength because it brings people together. You're capitalizing on the things that make them different, that bring those good, strong components to your team.
Of course.
Like, for example, in your platoon that you were leading, you need all these people with different strengths.
Of course.
Actual diversity is pivotal.
It's great.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you're unified.
Right.
You're unified. Yes, we're all different, but that's part of what makes America great. Yes, we're all different, but we bring aspects of our culture that we love and we're proud of, and we integrate into American society, and then we share those blessings with other people, right? Like, that's what makes this country great. That's why people risk their lives to come here from Cuba and shark-infested waters. They don't come here because they believe America is fundamentally evil. They come here because they believe America is free and their kids can have a better life than them. But the radical left does not believe that. They're taking this country back in the wrong direction, and we have to stop them.
This guy just won by 30 points in
Philadelphia in a primary.
Yeah, but where are the Democrats to be like, yo, this is bad? No, they're going in that direction.
I think that most of the leadership, I can't speak for people, right? But I would assume that most of the leadership in the Democrat Party knows that this ain't good. It's not good for them.
They can't do anything about it.
I hope not.
You were talking about how the left controls language. And I was just looking up who owns Merriam-Webster. It's owned, which is the dictionary. It's owned by Encyclopedia Britannica Incorporated, which is owned by Jacques Safra. I don't know who he is, but he's a millionaire Brazilian investor from Geneva. Descendant of Syrian, Lebanese, Swiss, Jewish Safra banking family. This guy's basically overseeing the definitions of the words.
Dictionary.com is woke.
Yeah.
They're super woke. So they're like, their definitions, they have recursive definitions. Which definition was it that became recursive?
Remember.
Was it gender or something?
Yeah, something like that.
So they ended up, I can't remember what word was, but dictionary.com created a definition of a word that included its own word in its definition, which becomes recursive. So it just basically, you can't define a word by itself, but they did anyway because it's wokeness. It's meaningless.
Like we're offloading the responsibility of creating the definition of words to corporations and individuals that have political leanings that own the corporations. That's insane. How do we create like a decentralized definition, a system of definitions?
There's Wiktionary. But here's the problem, man. The left is on the assault and the conservatives are sitting back with their feet up.
No, that's right. Well, I mean, or just conservatives in general are on the defensives. And to your point,
right? Never going on the offensive.
One of the number one things, and this is reflected in polling, right? That conservative or Republican voters want in a candidate is someone who's willing to fight and not back down. It's one of the top issues. And, that's what people have in me, that's for sure. But I think it's also, again, you can't back down.
You know what I want? I want a Republican candidate who is going to vow to create universal gun ownership.
Open carry?
No. Universal gun ownership, meaning
just mandate it.
Mandate
So you
it,
want
right.
the government to force people to have guns?
Yes.
I don't know that. I don't like the government.
See, here's
being
the
involved in
issue.
anything.
The left comes out and says, and this is, shout out to Michael Malice. The left comes out and says, we want universal health care. We want the government to ban private health insurance, take it all away from you, and then run it themselves. That's Bernie Sanders' plan. The Republicans say, no, wait, don't. The Democrats say, we want to take all your guns away. The Republicans say, no, wait, don't. Where's the Republican to say, I demand the government buy everyone a gun right now? So how about not mandatory, but the government is obligated to give every citizen a gun. At the age of 16, you'll go to the Department of Gun Services. You'll fill out the basic knowledge test.
Wait, the Department of Gun Services? So now we're growing the government?
Yep.
Now there's a new branch?
Yes. So it'd be like a DMV called the DGS. You go in, and if you want your free government issued gun, it'd probably be crappy,
Yes,
mind
of
you.
course.
But you get a rifle and a handgun and a box of ammo for each. You gotta go. You'll fill out a form. Basic questions, gun safety. Then they'll take you to the range. You'll do your standard shooting test, and then they'll hand you your 2 weapons and say, "Have a nice day, sir." The Republicans don't do things like that, and I get it. They're like, we don't want more government to do these things. Well, if the only thing the Republicans are ever going to do is say, no, wait, don't, then the Democrats will keep winning because the Democrats are offering things to people.
This is what I was saying. You have
Perhaps
to be
it's a
able to
problem.
articulate. You have to be able to articulate. So when Republicans will say, I want low taxes and a strong economy, but you have to be able as a candidate to explain to people why that matters in their life, right? We want our economy to be strong. We want there to be jobs, right? We want when kids graduate from school, there's a reason why there's a census population decrease in Pennsylvania and we're losing a congressional district. It's because people are moving away. Why? Because we don't have the economic diversity to sustain the jobs that kids would want to get when they graduate from school. We want that talent here, right? And
I got an idea for the Republican Party.
Is it another gun department?
Oh,
at the federal?
No.
Maybe.
If you don't want to expand government, it's simple. Will the Republicans repeal the NFA?
What do you mean? What do you
The
mean?
National Firearms Act. So it bans a whole bunch of guns. Assault rifles have been banned since going back to the 20s when the NFA was passed. Selective fire rifles can't be owned by civilians. Not that I think anybody tactically would want one, but it's very difficult to get. You have to go through the
an automatic.
Yeah, so automatic suppressors, or even short-barreled rifles, or having putting a stock on a pistol. You can't do these things. The Republicans often say no, wait, don't. Well, the Democrats say gimme, gimme, gimme. And so, okay, if the Republicans don't want to increase the size of government, how about harsh decrease in size of government? How about repealing federal gun laws?
Well, I mean, I would not start there. I would start with the Department of Education. Right?
I agree.
I think we start there. I would
Yeah.
also then go to the IRS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The tax code is longer than the Bible, and there's not a single good word in it.
Yep.
Right.
So we
could
need to see some
simplify
remote. Just
simplify
start
the
tearing
tax
these
code.
chunks out and throw them in the
When I
garbage.
say that we need to shrink the size and scope of the federal government, this is what I mean, right? The education should not be something that's handled at the federal level. Education is local,
course.
right? Every local community is different, and every local community is uniquely equipped to handle the education needs of their communities and their children, right? So I would start at the Department of Education, then I'd move to the IRS, and I would just continue down the line because
Department of Education, I agree with. Yes.
you don't agree with the IRS?
Oh, no, I do. I'm saying
good.
starting with the Department of Education.
Oh,
right.
starting there.
Starting
Yeah.
with gun laws is more bombastic. It's more like meant to be like, we're going to do something.
Yeah.
You want
Well,
something.
you're doing what the left would do. They just
No,
go
no,
big,
no, no, no.
bold, right in your face.
Right. No, in that capacity, yes. But I'm not. So they're restrictive. The banning of private healthcare, I think, is insane. If you want private healthcare, you can have it. I think a lot of these companies are bad and they suck, but hey, it's your choice, right? So that's why I've been like, public option. How about that? You want the government to do it, you can pay for that. If you want the private company to do it, you pay for that. Most of these companies, most countries do not abolish private health insurance. Bernie Sanders is extremely radical on this. So I'm like, okay, what's one of the most radical things a Republican could do in terms of limiting government and giving back people their rights is repealing laws. Just start repealing these ridiculous laws.
I mean, maybe you should. I think you've got a platform. I think.
Oh, if I had a platform, it would be nuts, and I don't think.
Well, I think you have. I think you have a platform.
I'd be like, okay, first and foremost, weed legal immediately. No more schedule of any of that stuff, and a full pardon. And
wait,
full,
of no more schedule of any drugs or just weed?
Weed. However, in terms of the war on drugs in general, we got to stop all that. We got to figure something else out. It's not working. So if the goal is to get people to not do drugs, we need to do something radically different. Now, I would not immediately do like a dramatic policy and just like get rid of all the schedules, because you don't want to flip the boat over because you've got a problem with the boat. You want to go through it and take notes of things and
of course
come up with a plan.
You want to be deliberate. You want to be slow,
right, exactly. Yeah. And a lot of what we see from the left is like, overhaul the system now. And you're like, I'd rather not burn it down because we're upset with it. We might have to take our time, and it might be boring and it might suck, but let's chill a little bit. Yeah. But I'm very much opposed to the war on drugs. I think we need, the Constitution needs to be reaffirmed dramatically. Like the rights in the Constitution need to be, we need to sort through that.
Someone asked me a question, someone asked me a question today, like if you win, like what's the criteria you're going to look at when confirming judges, right? If you're voting to confirm a justice on the Supreme Court. And to me, it's, well, for one, let's make sure that whoever that person is adheres to the Constitution and believes it as it's written. That matters. And in many ways, like especially what you saw in the wake of the 2020 election, even with the unilateral changes to election law, unconstitutional changes to election law, like the question is, does the Constitution matter anymore or not? If, it does to me. And, and you look at this off-cycle election, it wasn't just a DA's race, it was judges, right? Republicans got strong judge candidates in every level now, because I think we realize the importance of how of electing good judges, right? We elect judges in Pennsylvania, which
I got an idea. You know what I would consider doing? Running for office as a Republican with some very serious proposals to force the Republican candidate to move. So I'd be like,
to move to the right, to the right,
not necessarily to the right. I just move in general in different areas. So I don't know if total decriminalization of marijuana is a conservative position. But I think it would force the Republican candidate to adopt a more modern position, whatever it may be, or at least clarify and take a stance on it. Gun rights, I think Republicans would overwhelmingly just outright favor. If I said, I want to repeal the overwhelming majority of federal gun laws, and I want to establish like strict rights for what it means to keep and bear arms, codified, you can, like legal concealed carry across the board. I guess you run into a problem of states' rights and that, but get rid of the federal laws at least. And then what happens is I just say like a whole bunch of things where I'm like, here's what needs to happen.
I think there's a case to be made for a federal carry law.
But the states have a right to
control their own, of course, to control their own gun laws. But you also,
then if they violate the rights,
I do support a constitutional carry provision. I do think there's some wisdom in being able to carry across state lines and not be thrown in jail for it. I think
federally you can. They protect you, but the states don't care. That's the problem. So that's actually the limit on the federal government. It's not all bad. I just think it's problematic that the ATF can like shoot a lady and kill her kid and burn down a house with a bunch of kids in it. You know what I mean? And then they celebrate this every year on Twitter. Yeah, those people are kind of nuts. So maybe the left. Where are they at? They want to abolish the police. Can we start with like the ATF or something?
Yes.
Yeah, so local cops, okay, we'll deal with that, but they want to abolish the DHS. I'm like, okay, let's get the conversation going.
What if when you cross state borders, you got a text that sent you a link to all the laws that are different between this state and the state that you just came from? Because people don't know the difference in the laws. That's a big problem.
We are solving the problems of the world.
That's
right? If only people listen to us,
If
only people were watching this.
I know.
How about we see what the people have to say in the super chats? If you have not done so already, please help us out with a like by tapping that like button very ever so gently.
Easy.
Super
and
chats.
it is greatly appreciated. And share the show if you like it. But also go to timcast.com and become a member. We'll have a bonus segment coming up later tonight. Let's read some super chats. I'm sorry, good sir. With the first super chat, I can't read your name because YouTube has blocked it. But they said, hey, Tim and gang, thoughts on YouTubers running for office? Many say they feel they are making more of a difference with what they do, but they have the support to get elected in a way others don't.
Oh.
Maybe. I wonder what the laws are with, like, let's say I decided to run for office and actually won. Like, would I be able to do this? I don't think so. Right?
I think you would. I mean, Senator Cruz has a podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with Michael Knowles.
And I wonder how much time is consumed. I mean, this is more effective than fundraising.
Senator Cruz is a United States senator, and he still manages to do a podcast. So I don't know that you.
Yeah, but I'm doing.
I think you could still. I know you work. I know you're like
3 hours a day.
I know you work
recording with like 5 to 8 hours of research.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe.
That'd be great. I'd be like, I would probably not be allowed access to any kind of private information, because I'm not gonna lie to people.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. You ever see or read Watchmen?
Oh yeah, of course.
Rorschach at the end, Veith has basically tricked the people into ending the Cold War, and Rorschach's opinion is no, the people have a right to know what happened, and I agree.
And then,
but there's I wouldn't say I'm as morally absolutist as he is in that position. He would rather let the world destroy itself.
And what's the blue dude's name?
Dr. Manhattan.
Dr. Manhattan just
blows him up.
Yeah,
it's amazing. It's great writing. So Rorschach, the character, says that the people deserve to know the truth because it was a false flag attack that unified, the United States. I think the people have a right to know. I don't think, you get like the New York Times saying, don't tell people about the gas shortage because they'll panic. My attitude is that people have a right to know what's happening.
Well, that was sort of like Dr. Fauci early on in the pandemic saying, "Don't wear masks, right? You don't need masks."
Exactly, because
he was
doing that. Hoarding them.
He was hoarding them.
It's kind of like military command. You can probably speak to this. Like, you don't want to panic the troops, so they're on a need-to-know basis. And as the commander-in-chief of the military, you're kind of in a similar position. You don't want to alarm the populace if you don't need to.
I'm much more libertarian. I think people have a right to know.
I would say I'm libertarian in some ways as well, but not in this one. I think that there are national security issues that aren't for public consumption. There just are.
All right, let's read some more. We got Lethal Blades. He says, "Hey Tim, you should have on guns and gadgets if you want to talk gun laws and what is coming down the pipe. And if you want to talk commie guns and having fun with guns, you should have on Brandon Herrera, aka the AK guy. He owns and operates an AK factory in the U.S. Oh, cool. There you go. Trash Panda says, Tim, 2018. I think we can have some sensible gun control. Tim, 2021. Free AK-47s for everyone. Yes.
I think that's accurate.
Yep.
I love it.
Well, also kudos for the name, Trash Panda.
Trash Panda.
Yeah.
Eric A says, glad to see Sean Parnell back. Please invite Madison Cawthorn on as well. You know what the problem is with inviting politicians? They always say the same thing. They say, I'd love to come on the show. Email this person and we'll get it sorted. And then we email the person and they just never respond.
Wait a second. Are you classifying me as a politician because I'm going to throw up in my mouth?
Yep, you're sitting here.
Yeah, you're here.
I'm saying when we hit up politicians, they're always like, yes, we want to come on the show. And then they just email this person. Nothing happens.
Yeah.
You're actually here. You've been here a lot.
A lot. Yeah. I'm not afraid of the conversations. Here's what I understand. The left is if the left weaponizes anything they can get against you, right? And if they have nothing, they make things up. So you might as well just get out there.
Yeah.
All right. Evil Zombie Hamster says, check out 3D printed arms for chickens.
What?
Chicken City could have chickens with Hulk arms running around.
Oh, Chicken City. This is your thing now, right?
Yes.
I see you post on Instagram about Chicken City. Tell me.
We're going to put we got the chicken coop outside.
I saw that.
It's got little houses in it.
No taxes.
And we're going to put cameras in it. And then we're going to create a 24/7 live stream
Profiles
of
our
the Chicken
chickens.
City.
Chicken City reminds me of Tube City, like in The Office, where Michael Scott makes a Tube City for gerbils. Remember that?
There you go.
That sounds awesome.
And so what I want to do, and I don't know how we'll do it, I want to create a system where every $50 that comes in super chats, it causes a cricket dispenser to drop some crickets.
Oh, yeah.
And then the chickens run
See,
over. And they all
this is why business is booming here at Timcast. It's these
I got all
the innovative things. You basically, what you're doing is creating a reality TV show for Chicken City.
Yes.
That's right. And they all have names.
And it could be a video. It could be a
Well,
video
no, hold
game.
on. They all have
people
names.
said that, actually.
They all have names.
I thought I was the only one. Here I was
But
thinking I was
you're
creative.
pushing it.
Okay.
You're on the-
They
on
all
the
have
tip of the
names.
spear.
They do, yes.
They all have names.
They do.
And we'll create shirts. And then people will join
Team.
teams. Yeah.
Team
so there's like Vanessa, there's
you gonna-
Roberta, there's Sarah.
Oh, you name them?
Yeah, I named them all. They all have names. And so we're
Old
gonna
lady
explain the names and then there's gonna be drama and it's gonna be you'll see them
Personalities.
fighting and
Yeah.
who's
Wait.
in charge.
Yeah, Vanessa has
We're gonna
quite
do-
a character.
She does, yes.
We're gonna do like a bachelor thing because we're gonna get a rooster, and then it's gonna be like, which one will the
They give
rooster
the rose.
choose?
Yeah, Tim will
That's
have
right.
the
All
rose.
of them because he's a rooster. Yeah,
Oh, it'll be good.
that would be great. We'll give him 3D printed arms.
That'll
you know
be
what, you know what I
fun.
want to do? I was wondering if like, if is it possible? Is it the muscle strength of the chicken causing it not to be able to fly? And if there was a way we could do some kind of like carbon fiber mesh to expand their wings and give them
Like
flight.
Falcon?
Yeah,
Like
but for
give
chickens.
a chicken a little Falcon suit like in the Avengers?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's their weight.
Would it
ratio,
also
though.
come equipped with little drones
That would be fun.
Maybe we need.
and goggles?
I know
right?
we could do.
Goggles?
Hold on. What if
God.
we created a 3D printed harness and we attached enough balloons to it to
Yep.
reduce the weight of a chicken so that it
Yes.
could fly properly?
Oh, just
so that
heavy
it's
enough.
so it's flying. You know,
Pokemon did that with Pikachu.
in the
I know
balloons.
this because my son.
I think
my-
the balloon
my-
thing would work. You don't put enough on it to where it can just drift off and is gone. You just put enough on to where it's weighted down, but it can jump like way higher. What do you think? What do you think the chicken would do?
Freak out.
No, I think it would just float around and like go home. Maybe we start with only like
If I drive up to this place for a podcast and I see chickens floating around your house with balloons, I'm out of
They're
here.
going into space.
Is
I'm
that-
out of here, man.
But I want we don't want to stress the chickens.
Like
or
I
anything,
love your
but
show, but that
That's
would
too
be
much.
that would be like some
I-
Silent Hill, some stuff. You know what I mean?
I did
Like-
want to make 3D printed armor for them though, so that it can't be killed by predators.
Yes.
I
Back
thought-
plates.
like a spike plate back armor.
Yeah.
Thought about
You know?
like electrical stimulation to stimulate the muscles so they
No,
can carry the
you
weight.
can't-
But
you
then I
can't
was
do
thinking
that.
like you can't be
Yeah, it's
hard
too
on the
much.
chicken. You
Yeah.
gotta
Yeah,
be
you
good
kill
to
it.
the chickens.
Yeah.
But like
you guys have put a lot of thought into
Way
how to
too much.
supercharge these chickens. What you're basically doing is giving you're trying to give super soldier serum or something like that
Armor.
to a chicken.
Like an
like
Man suit.
like an Iron Man suit for the chickens.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm open to
I was
all.
like-
all
I was
that.
actually trying to figure out how to create a flight suit for Bucko. He's a cat.
He needs one.
So
yes.
the idea would be that when he jumps, right, they put their feet out, and that would release carbon fiber and mesh wings and the tail fin, so that he would glide, and then he wouldn't be able to fly, but he'd be able to jump and glide and then land.
It's like the apex predator.
Could
Yes.
you imagine
building the
like
predator.
you're like a shrew or something, and you see a
bunny.
cat, and you're like, I'll be all right, I'll get up here, and then the cat just glides across and like lands, and you're like, what's happening? We're just terrorizing all the small woodland creatures.
Even more than he already does.
Yeah.
How would he retract his carbon fiber wings?
When his
He
arms go
lands.
down,
Yeah.
they fold back in because it would be like on a string that pulls the gears.
Do you ever see those Boston Dynamic videos?
Yeah,
They're like
yeah.
robot dogs, and they're
Yeah.
really super creepy and definitely scary. What you're doing is like creating animal cyborgs.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
I think they'd be into it. Wouldn't you be excited if you had a suit where when you jumped, like Batman cape, like glided you down?
If
off
I had
of-
if I had a Batman suit, it would be amazing.
So how do you think the cat's
Like
gonna
a
feel?
real Batman suit with a real
Right.
utility belt, like
So how
not
do you-
something you buy at a Halloween store. Like
Right,
it actually
exactly.
it has to actually work.
Like you know,
Right.
Batman, he jumps off the building and then he like his cape goes rigid and he glides.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like how do you
memory cloth.
think? Right, exactly. How do you think the cat's gonna feel when he can like the bird is like looking at him and then jumps over?
I don't know how the cat's gonna feel because the cat
He's gonna
can't
be
speak
stoked.
English.
He's gonna be
It
so
could
excited.
I
Think about
guarantee
it.
you that cat is gonna look terrified.
There's
That cat's probably
gonna
just
be a
terrified.
pigeon or something, and it's gonna be up on like the deck, and Bucko's gonna walk up to it, and it's gonna jump over to the other deck, and then it's gonna be like, I'm all right, and it's just gonna fly across, and it's gonna be like, what is happening? The cat's flying.
It's like the German Blitzkrieg. No one saw it coming.
No one saw it coming. Spanish Inquisition.
Those tanks were fast.
God, you guys, you went from a standard podcast just 4 episodes ago to now creating cyborg chickens
Yes.
and cats.
Oh, you have no idea what's coming.
I don't. I mean, I don't.
Chicken City is gonna start up as pretty normal.
Chicken
Just
City.
people are gonna watch a live stream of chickens, and then what we're gonna do is I'm trying to hire a composer to make like beats.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then eventually we'll create a channel. We'll create a stream that's lo-fi hip hop beats to watch Chicken City too.
Do you,
So that when people are like studying or whatever, there's like.
do you know what?
chickens
Do you
and-
know what Chicken City reminds me of? It reminds me. Remember when the left bought for that fakes. The left media bought the fake story that President Trump did nothing but watch Gorilla TV for
Gorilla
like 4
Channel.
hours. Yeah, I mean, I heard that and I thought like. Well, that would kind of be a good channel. Like,
That'd be a
I
great
think I
channel.
would
I'd
kind of
watch
watch that. Or just gorillas fighting.
Yeah.
We got-
like,
we
like,
got-
it's like they totally wrote a story as if it were real. Do
I'd
you remember
watch it.
that?
No.
All right, we got to read a couple more.
We got a little derailed there.
All right,
Sorry.
let's see. Jordan says, "Happy 1 million Timcast IRL subscribers, Tim." And we did just get the gold award. It just came in the mail today. We got to put it up.
Oh yeah.
Matthew Sage says, I'd happily back and donate to Sean Parnell. Any website, etc., to help raise money. I'm a state over, but we need level-headed and sane politicians all over.
That means, if every one of your subscribers gave $1, that's a big deal. That's
$1 million.
huge. Well,
every subscriber. Not every subscriber watches every video. So
that's right. That's
cool
right.
if
Yeah.
they did.
Yeah. All of everyone never does
Anything.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So,
I'm
but
sorry.
it's still a profound impact, man. It's still a big
What's
impact.
your website?
Parnellforsenate.com.
Right on.
Perfect.
All right, Matthew Hemmond says, Sean, do you think we could have another contract with America that would allow populist candidates to focus on certain topics in elections and goals when elected? I would recommend getting with Jack Murphy and Billy Prempe to develop it.
I think that's really smart. I think it's really smart. And this, remember that Jim Banks letter that I told you about?
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of like in this vein, but it just, I think that's a good idea. I think that's a really good idea.
That's a good recommendation.
All right, Juan Martinez says, hi, Tim. Following your lead in making culture, please check my first children's book, Tickled by the Travel Bug, on Kickstarter.
How cute.
Hey, there you go. All right, let's see. Where are we at? Golan Daz Thop says, absolutely loved your podcast with Jocko. Can't wait to read Outlaw Platoon.
Oh, thanks. So that you want? Can I tell a quick story about that? So
Yes, you
my
must.
podcast with Jocko, like I've been listening. Jocko's an awesome guy.
I love him.
So like he invited me on a show. I was super excited about it. I get out there into San Diego and I'm like, oh God, I'm a little nervous. I don't know what this is going to be like. And he walks into his podcast. I walk into Victory MMA, and it's an awesome place. All these little octagons and everybody. There's like 200 people there rolling around on the mat, and I'm like, where's Jocko? And Jocko walks in, and it's like he's in it's like an episode of Cheers. Like everyone's like, hey, Jocko. He's like pointing at people, and we go into this little room, right?
Closet, right? Yeah.
Yes, and we did a 5.5 hour marathon podcast where he had Outlaw Platoon.
Wow.
He had Outlaw Platoon, just like went through the chapters, and all we did was have a 5.5 hour conversation about combat leadership and servant leadership the whole time. And I thought I was going to be there for my fiction books. Like I didn't hit it, but it was all about Outlaw Platoon, 5.5 hours long. And it was just, it was awesome. It was awesome.
That's so cool. He's the best.
He is. He's awesome.
JT
Awesome.
Goldfish says, loved your book, Sean. Gave me flashbacks from Afghanistan. But I will never vote for you unless you try to oust Romney in Utah.
You want me to be a carpetbagger and move to Utah?
Yeah, I guess so.
Mr. Behavior
requirement.
says, love how Sean said to Tim, quote, if you've ever seen Star Trek, as if Tim doesn't reference Star Trek like every episode, LMAO.
I was saying just that for the audience.
For the audience,
you know?
yeah.
And
Here we go.
Can we stop pretending that Star Trek is just a monolith? There's many Star. There's Star Trek with Captain Kirk. There's Star Trek Next Generation. There's Deep Space Nine. So, right?
The
And that's
movies.
it. And then
The movies.
after Deep Space Nine, it's over. There's no other Star Treks. Everything else. I guess Enterprise is okay, but
Stars were trekked.
Stars
right.
were tracked.
That's
Dorsey
right.
Wood says Republicans have been little more than speed bumps, while progressives are four-wheel drive. Every day more ground is lost with fortified elections. I'm not convinced the battle can be won anymore. Fortifying the home front in case.
It's like there's this drastic need to change the world. That is true. So these people that want to change all these things are getting like a pass from the media, and the people that are like, yo, the system's not as busted as it seems are getting kind of steamrolled, it seems. But just change for the sake of change is not the right way to go. You got to know what you're doing and have a plan that's sustainable.
You
Correct.
sure we shouldn't just burn it down because we're upset with some things?
I think we shouldn't.
Yeah.
I think
That's
her
what you think.
concerns. I mean, her concerns about the election are something that I encounter every day. 50% of the people in the state of Pennsylvania have very little faith in it. But what I can tell you is we know what they did in 2020, right? And we have a plan. We learned a lot of lessons, right? And we're taking those lessons learned. We're moving forward, integrating them into 2022, and we've got a plan. We've got a plan.
Brandon Tom says, Tim, your 1 p.m. piece was spot on. It doesn't matter how much or how little you know about the Middle East conflict. It's wrong to go around beating people based on immutable characteristics. That's what matters. So there's a video where there's a couple of videos. A van or cars full of people with Palestinian flags yell out like who's Jewish, and when some guys say they are, they get out and start beating the crap out of them.
I saw them.
There's a video
It's
of
horrible.
people in vehicles waving Palestinian flags chasing an Orthodox Jew through the streets.
Horrible.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. And I don't see the left coming out and being like, we must stop this. No, they're just like, Hamas is defending itself. I'm like, they're firing the rockets.
They're the ones and they use schools, they use hospitals, and they use buildings that are co-located with the media because they know that American media will freak out if, God forbid, one of those targets gets hit. And either way, they win. They get a propaganda victory, right? If one of those buildings becomes collateral damage, or they're shielded because they know that they won't be attacked there.
Yep.
Right. And so, I would just say to the viewers, and imagine your city getting hit with thousands of rockets. I lived like that for 485 days. My base in Afghanistan got hit with over 4,000 indirect fire attacks. There's nothing worse. There's no more hellish way to live than wondering if a rocket is going to land on your head at any moment, whether you're asleep, while you're going to the bathroom, while you're eating. It's a horrible way to live, and we're trained to deal with it. There are young kids living in Israel right now, of all walks of life that have to live like. Can you imagine how that lifestyle affects those little ones? It's unacceptable.
Kev says, Sean Parnell, I need that shirt. Who makes it and where can I get one? Don't say don't remember it as a label.
It's go to a website. It's called VeroCloth. It's
VRO.
Yeah. Now I'm promoting another web.
That's okay. It's all right.
Yeah. It's I love these shirts. I think they're in. I'm bringing them. I'm making them in. Yeah.
Yes.
First Last says, cop was trained by Rock Lee to open the 8 gates. And if you know what that means, then you are a friend of this show. And now you're all confused.
Yeah, I'm very confused.
Excellent.
I thought I was I thought I was a friend of the
I
show.
thought I was a friend.
Airbender, isn't it? Rock Lee?
No, Rock Lee is from Naruto.
Oh, is it this? Is that wait? This is this anime show, Naruto.
Yeah.
My kid watches this, and my
you
oldest
do know
son
it.
watches this, and he loves it.
Yeah.
Is it like
So-
a thing? Is it like good? Is it good?
While it was running.
Is it
was-
appropriate for kids that are 12?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
it's
okay.
it's
Because I'm
about-
like,
yeah.
Ethan,
It's about
you should be watching this podcast
it's,
anyway.
It's,
but
it's about magic ninjas.
okay, well, now
It's
that
actually
sounds interesting.
it's actually cool writing in terms of politics.
like it.
Yeah.
Magic Ninjas, Andrew, my campaign managers. Mark that down.
Thumbs up.
We're going to watch it later.
Magic
So the
ninjas.
character Rock Lee can open his chakra gates to flood his body with more energy, but at the cost of like causing damage to his body.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
the joke is that the cop opened the gates so we could lift the car off the woman, and yeah.
I see. I get it.
Joseph Soilo says Charles Hoskinson just mentioned you in his AMA. Would be an awesome guest to discuss crypto on your show. Absolutely. You reached out to him, I think.
I
right?
did. If someone would let him know to hit me up, I will happily coordinate that. I would love to do
So
that.
he's the guy who founded Cardano.
Yes.
And I have 4 cryptos. I have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Doge, and Cardano.
Woo.
And I got to be honest, like I can give you a reason why, but when you go on Gemini, it's like those are the 4 that are like there. I just like buy. It's probably not a complicated thing. I'm just like, I don't know, I'm going to buy whatever's there. No, but he was the co-founder of Ethereum, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And Bitcoin and Ethereum are the only ones I'm like really confident in. But then I look at Cardano, I'm like, this guy clearly knows what he's doing, and he's got a different approach to it.
I'd love
So
to
I
have
think
him.
once that launches up, it'll be pretty big. We'll see. Whatever. I don't think Dogecoin's going anywhere, to be honest. But I'm going to keep my Dogecoin because it's funny.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Yeti Dude says, where are the politicians that respect the Constitution and the law of the land and restore the freedom of the people of these United States?
You got one sitting right here. And again, like you can't, people like me can't win if the people don't help, right? And I mean, like you've got you got to contribute to people's campaigns. Otherwise you get bludgeoned to death by big party politics.
Yes.
You know?
Yo, I want to just give a shout out to IOHK.io, which is Cardano's website, or one of them.
Okay.
IOHK. It's just so cool. You go there and you swipe around on it.
Wow, cool.
This is so
neat.
if this has anything to do with how
No one can
advanced-
see what you're doing.
I
Yeah,
know,
hold up
I
a
know.
little
But
higher.
go
It's
there
really cool, though.
when the podcast is over and check it out and mouse around and swipe
Well,
around on
what
it.
does it do? What?
It's just this really amazing graphical layout. And if this
It's
speaks
like
to
dropping paint in water.
the creativity of
funny.
the designers and the developers, I wonder if this, it just makes me have faith in the developers as a whole.
All right.
Of the Cardano.
That's
It's pretty.
interesting,
I've
yeah.
loved this for years.
That's
thing.
why Obama got elected. He was a celebrity.
Yeah,
That's
it's
right.
flashy, colorful.
Beautiful.
All right, let's see. We just hit it. YouTube just jumped on us. Remote CFO says, in my honest opinion, YouTubers that claim they can make more of a difference on YouTube rather than Office is just a cop-out. Tim, I love you, my Korean brother, but your country needs you. Sean, PA is behind you.
Awesome.
I don't
awesome.
know what I don't know what I would do in Office. Sit around and complain.
Someone's
With your tiny
attacking me
gavel.
on Twitter for not. I didn't know what the content of the NFA. Like I know what the national. I know what this stuff is, but I didn't know what the hell you were at. I mean,
Right? Yeah. People are dumb.
people give me no grace.
Twitter's dumb. Let's put it that way.
Daniel Bundrick says, anytime someone suggests a new law, they're saying there should be a new sword. And good though the sword may be, they don't get to decide who will wield it. We should choose our laws wisely and assume they will be wielded by the worst among us. I mean, if you were to like take all the laws in the U.S. and put them in a book, the book would probably be like, what, 20 stories tall?
Yes.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
It is
People don't even know what's illegal, and they're like, ignorance is no excuse. Actually, it is.
It totally is.
It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Ignorance is no excuse for breaking the law. Bro, I'm a law-abiding citizen. If I knew I couldn't bake an apple pie on Sundays and put it on my windowsill, I wouldn't have done it. But that's insane. You know, in some places that's true. Like, there's like some places where you can't bathe on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And people don't know that those laws are still in the books. And they expect that the judges will just do the right thing. Well, what if they don't? What if they don't do the right thing? Get those laws out of there. What are you doing?
Can't turn right on red in New York. I didn't know. I lived there. Lived in L.A., lived in Chicago, where you can turn right on red. Can't turn right on red in New York.
And
That's a
then
law.
you get pulled over, and they'll give you a ticket and say, ignorance is no excuse.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
There were no signs.
It is
There's
the
a lot of
excuse.
things where you don't realize it's like illegal. Like, for instance, what people don't realize about drones, you can buy at Best Buy. You can go to Best Buy and be like, I'll take a drone, please. Okay. And then you can fly it and then not even realize it's breaking the law. It's like, I went to a toy store and
Over
I bought
400
this. You know what I mean?
feet. Yeah.
Well, they restrict that kind of stuff, but there are certain things you might not even realize. Like can you believe this? You can't climb into the tiger pen at a zoo. Like who's supposed to know? I'm kidding.
Who
Don't
came up
do
with that one?
Don't do that. No, but there are some things where it's like you. So for instance, my experience for me, I was driving back from Colorado Springs, Fort Carson, and they had suspended my license without telling me because there was no way they could have and no way for me to know, and I got in trouble for it. And I'm like, what is this? I had no idea it even happened, and I'm coming home before I even got my mail, and they're like, so what? Couldn't they have been like, okay, dude, don't drive again. Here's your official warning. Forget about it, but you can't drive because your license is suspended. I'd have been like, you got it, boss. Instead, they're like, we're arresting you, and we'll see you in court. And then went to court. They were like, so you confess? And I was like, bro, just give me the notification. The first thing that should happen is the driver, you should get pulled over by a cop. You should be like, I'm giving you formal notice. Your license has been suspended. You have to exit your vehicle right now. If you're caught driving again, it's on your record. You will be arrested. I'd be like, you got it.
Mm-hmm.
But ignorance is no excuse.
Like if a cop goes down the street and tickets a bunch of cars, and then some like random person comes up and then takes all the tickets off all the cars.
Yep, too bad.
That's illegal, but you won't know that you got a ticket. That's so busted.
You'll get a ticket in the mail saying you failed to appear or contest, so you have a final
That's
term.
so crazy.
Yeah, the system's got a bunch of problems, man. I don't know what you do with it. We gotta just keep working, I suppose. All right, we'll do a couple more here. We got Sam Devlin. He says, I was accepted to Stockton U in NJ. They are requiring vax by 8/1, students only. Or I can't start my fall classes, even if all are online. I refuse to bend the knee. My mom is going to be pissed. Need to find a new program. Well, why go to college?
That's a good question.
Yeah, like what are you going to college for? Why go to college?
I would say if going to college is something you have your heart set on, if it's something like STEM, just so you know, vaccinations have always been required by all different kinds of schools for polio, MMR, and all that stuff. Yeah, so it's not really new, and I'm not surprised by this as such. I don't know. Just my 2 cents.
It's a great point.
Yeah, I think college is dumb and a waste of time.
I did a conservatory kind of thing. That was cool.
I certainly don't think it's. I was raised, in our generation. It's like, you got to go to school. You got to go to school, and I did. I went to got my undergrad, got my master's. Don't do anything with it. But I think in today's day and age, it's hard. It's hard to find a plumber. It's hard to find a carpenter. It's hard to find people that have actual trades. And those people, when they get jobs, like they're making $80, $90, $100 an hour. And there are so many jobs available. And so I think learning a trade moving forward, a manufacturing trade, is something that's just it's really important right now.
Was your experience as an undergrad and you said you got your master's too?
Yeah.
Did that help you get into officer school?
No. I went through after 9/11. I was an elementary education major at Clarion University, wanting to teach second grade. 9/11 happened. A few days later, I was down at the recruiter, joined the infantry. Or it said I wanted to join the infantry, go to airborne school, ranger school, transferred to Duquesne. It's not COVID. Believe it. Transferred to Duquesne and joined the ROTC program.
Drink that water.
Yeah.
All right, everybody's got some token. We get tons of super chats where they're like, "Say this token, say this token,
Oh,
say this
yeah.
token."
So many
No,
tokens.
no. Nah.
No financial advice here.
What's that? What's a token?
So
Crypto.
tokens are they exist on other chains. So like ERC20 tokens are really easy to make. You can just like snap your
Gotcha.
fingers and make a bunch of tokens.
It's kind of like we should never read super chat token shoutouts.
Right, I avoid them for the most part
Yeah.
because everyone's always just
Does
trying to
everyone
pump.
have a token now?
It's so easy to make tokens. You snap your fingers and you can do it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep, like literally just. So
Why? Why does some people want to do a
I could
token
make
shout-out?
Beanie Coin right now.
Pump and dump.
A beanie
It,
coin.
it would operate on the Ethereum network.
Yes.
I could just snap my fingers and make it. It would probably take what, like 10 minutes? You think?
I don't know. I've never done it before.
10 minutes, and then I could make like, okay, Beanie Coin has 1 million coins. I keep 100,000 for myself, and then I just disperse the coins, by some metric or whatever, and then or people can start proof of staking to generate coins or something, and then once the coin is worth a penny, I have $1,000 or whatever. So people will make a token with 450 million total capacity or something, and then it's money.
Or they'll buy like 1 million tokens and then super chat for $50. Like, hey, this token, hope that it goes up 50%, and they make.
Which is basically
$500,000.
just like scamming
Holy
people.
smokes.
Yeah,
Right.
it's very pump and dump. It's very disturbing.
Wow.
Powerful
Yeah.
tech, but disturbing.
Well, there's no regulation, which is partly the good thing. I mean, buyer
Yeah, it's
beware, right?
yes.
Caveat emptor. Is that what it is?
I don't know. That sounds Roman.
Caveat emptor?
It's Latin for sure.
Yeah,
For
let the
sure.
buyer beware.
Yeah.
All right. GG Player says, tried to go to his website, says the IP could not be reached on Chrome. Is your website blocked on Chrome?
No.
Interesting.
Definitely use
No.
Brave and DuckDuckGo as your browser and search engine.
I mean, it's coming. It's no. What? Try it. Is it working on Chrome? Andrew's a Chrome guy.
All right, let me read
Get
this
to the
one.
bottom
Gavin
of this.
McDougall says, hedge funds are liquidating assets, including crypto, in anticipation of having to pay out on AMC, not because Elon talks crap. Yeah, the big squeeze, everyone's excited, is claiming there's going to be a big hedge fund squeeze. And Bill Gates is panicking, and there's a bunch of conspiracy theories. I don't know what's going to happen.
Believe it
but
when I see it.
We'll see, man.
Yeah.
But my friends, for those that are listening, smash the like button if you haven't done so already, because it really does help. And sharing this channel and these videos, they always help. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Timcast IRL, where we are posting clips from the show. And with your help sharing them, we can leverage the Facebook network to drive people to our website. And the same thing is true for Timcast IRL on Instagram, which is that same name. This show is live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So don't forget, go to timcast.com, become a member. A bonus segment is coming up shortly. Is there anything you want to shout out, Sean?
Shout out to me. Oh, please,
Shout out.
please go to my website, parnellforsenate.com. If you have the means, contribute, join the movement. We need your help. Or follow me on Twitter at Sean Parnell USA.
This is really great, man. Love having you here. It was really entertaining.
I love
to listen
being
to
here,
you.
man.
Yeah, it was like
I
an
love
hour
being
of just
here.
joy. You can follow me at iancrossland.net and at iancrossland on social media. Thank you.
Sean gives me a lot of hope for kind of the GOP in general, so it's really nice to hear these more sane, reasonable approaches, and I'm really hoping that you're the guy who gets in and fights like heck to
Well,
make good things happen.
Me too, because I love this country and it's worth fighting for and it's worth defending.
Yeah, 100%. You can follow me on Twitter at Sour Patch Lids, and I'm on a journey to have more followers than Sour Patch Kids. Very important. Please join me. It's a lot of fun.
We will see you all at timcast.com at about 11 p.m. So thanks for hanging out, and we will see you there.
Bye, guys.